Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land. I'm the Moorish Empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every sovereign citizen that's ever been before. Find me one that won. God dang, you're right. Don't go down this. It's not the path. Don't have time for stupidity. Some clever dick on the internet didn't find the great loophole in all of the world's law. Bitch snitch. God dang, you're right. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. Moorish Empire, traveler on the land, bitch snitch, Moorish Empire, God dang, you're right, traveler on the land, bitch snitch, the late evening U.S. people.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to day 8 of the Karen Reed murder trial. We are scheduled to get started at any time now. Let's bring up the small little screen here so we can see what's going on. Here we are. This is what Long Crime is showing right now. Before we get started, I want to get very, very serious for just a minute. I don't know how many of you know or are familiar with a member of chat, a very active member of chat until very recently, by the handle Fiery Red Podcast. Fiery Red Podcast has been a supporter and a viewer of the show since the extreme early days of my channel. Apparently, he's been given a diagnosis of terminal cancer. Yeah, we're talking maybe months. And he and his wife are apparently having trouble paying bills at this particular time. And he set up a give send go. Sorry, he set up a give send go, and he will be doing a 10-hour Operation Help Fiery stream that'll be starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. It'll be a 10-hour live stream fundraiser for him. And I'll drop the link here in the Give Send Go. I'm not saying go and support it. If it's something you're inclined to do, please go ahead and do it. It's completely up to you. No pressure whatsoever. But here's the link to the Give Send Go if you want to go check it out and decide whether or not that's for you. But I did want you to know that he'll be giving a 10-hour live stream over on Fiery Red Podcast beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. I'll be there. I'll be there at some point. It starts at 5:30 a.m. my time. So whenever I wake up, then I will be there. So that's just a little bit of news I wanted to share with you because I know that many of you know Fiery Red Podcast. It's not a good thing. The terminal cancer diagnosis, the fundraiser coming up on Saturday, and I dropped the link in the Give Send Go if that's something that you're inclined to. inclined to do. No real easy way to segue out of that, I'm afraid. But let's move on. And Ms. K. Grift has just dropped the link to the live stream if you want to copy that as well. Livid Pigeon says, my brother died of Super C within a month of diagnosis, almost exactly a year ago. Please help you all you can, even if just say you're thinking about them. Again, go ahead. If it's your thing, do it. And I'll be on this 10-hour podcast, this 10-hour live stream at some point. I'll keep it posted when I'm there. So I know Flux will be there as well. Nick Starro, I believe, is going to be there. Hayden Ozzy Overlord is going to be there, as far as I know. But anyway, stay tuned for that. All right, we're waiting for the court to start, and while we're waiting to do that, let's hit up some of the housekeeping stuff, shall we? Our like and subscribe poll. We've currently got 256 people here and only 99 likes. I got 99 likes, and you ain't one of them. About 150 of you. So get down there and hit that like button, please. Please like my stream. Now, please hit that like button and take our like and subscribe poll after you've hit that subscribe button, or after you've checked to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. We hit our goal yesterday of getting up to 75,700. 75,800 is the next goal. We're about 97 away from that. So please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, peeps. And then take our like and subscribe poll. What will today's what if any tally be? If you've been following this trial, you know the prosecutor uses this what if any, who if any, where if any crutch, this vocal crutch to avoid leading questions to an absolutely ridiculous extreme. We all made fun of watch the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. We all made fun of Elaine Bredehoff for using what if any. This guy has taken it to the absolute extreme. He's making Elaine look like an amateur. And it's a standing offer. If he gets to 100 what if any's, I do a straight shot of absinthe, just punishment, just to wash the memory of it away. And again, download your bingo cards. We've got our bingo. Let me show the bingo card here for those of you that have been following at home. If you click the link in the pinned chat, download it, generate it. You don't have to load anything on your computer. You don't have to do anything. It just generates it automatically in a window. And here is the bingo card. These are the squares that we'll be checking off as the day goes along. Hopefully, depending on all right, what's happening here? Okay, with the court is in session, people. Let's stop that and bring up court. All right, where are we? Here we go. We still don't have audio. At least I hope we don't have audio. I can't see. Yes, it's the court's audio that's going on here. So when there's audio, you will hear it at the same time as I do. But in the meantime, the bingo card, we're looking for broken.
Those are fine.
Shut up and let's go. Nope, psych.
Begin. So, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Mr. Christopher Albert to the stand.
Wow. Why is that playing at double speed? Let's refresh the window. That was kind of strange.
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Mr. Christopher Albert to the stand.
Oh, Chris Albert, the brother. Chris Albert, the brother man of Brian, the one that Sergeant Lank apparently saved his bacon. Ooh.
Watch your step.
And while he's saying Jeremiah Jordan, member for 12 months, is rating yourself an act of cannibalism.
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help
Possibly.
you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And also, the Squid with a $20 super chat before the show started. Be sleeping while this goes. Just wanted to say that is an amazing. It's amazing how many people believe the defense team is
Anytime you're
shady
ready,
for
Mr.
doing their
Brown.
job
Thank you, Your Honor.
and trying to get
Good
every
morning.
lie and every
Good morning, sir.
misstep made by the
Could
cops
you,
and the
please
state
state your
on
name and spell
record.
your last name?
Thank you so
It's
much, Squid.
Christopher Albert, Albert.
And where do you live, sir?
I live at 22 Maple Street, Unit L, Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived there?
Almost 2 years. Sorry, go ahead.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
Since 1974.
And so pretty much your whole life.
Pretty much since I was 4.
And prior to living in Maple, where did you live in Canton before that?
7 Meadows Ave in Canton.
And how long did you live at 7 Meadows?
From 2001 to 2021, about 20 years.
And who, if anyone, do you live with now?
I live with my wife, Julie, my oldest son, who just came home from the Navy, my middle son, Colin, and my youngest son, Dylan.
And how long have you and your wife, Julie, been married?
Roughly, gosh, you're going to kill me. 21 years, around 21 years.
You mentioned you and your wife, Julie, you have 3 sons?
Yeah.
And how old are they?
My oldest is 25, my middle is 20, and my youngest is 16.
Now, do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
What do you do for work?
I'm self-employed. I own a small pizza shop.
What's the name of the pizza?
It's called D&E Pizza.
And how long have you owned that?
25 years this March.
And prior to that, did you work sort of in the same industry?
Same industry pretty much my whole life.
And does your wife work?
She does not.
Does she help out with the D&E Pizza Shop?
She does some of this behind the scenes stuff. Yes.
Now, when you lived on Meadows Avenue, did you have occasion to become familiar with someone named John?
Yes, I did.
And how is it that you?
Oh wait, did we get
How
a
is
what
it
if
that
any
you-
already?
So he bought the 1 Meadows Ave, the top house. I don't know exactly, maybe like 2017. So he became my neighbor, and I guess just from me driving by his house and coming home, I saw him, would wave to him and stuff, and that's how I initially became to know who John was.
And you mentioned he bought the house at sort of the top of the street. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's if you're coming off Pleasant, you take a right down Meadows, it's the first on the right.
And then on Meadows Ave, about how many houses are on Meadows?
Well, between us or all, on the whole street, you mean?
First down the whole street and then.
Yeah, so roughly on that whole street, I would say there's like close to 30 houses from top to bottom on both sides.
And then how about in between 1 and 7?
So there's 2 houses between mine and John's.
And if you're
And,
playing bingo
your
at home,
house
I
is
think we
both,
can mark
odd
off
numbers, are they
heavy
on the same
Boston
side?
Same side,
accent.
yeah.
Mark off heavy
Now,
Boston
you said that
accent.
that's how you initially came to know John O'Keefe. How did your relationship sort of go on from there?
So over the years, like he was friendly with some other folks that I was friends with. So we maybe be out occasionally and bump into him, but he would also come to my pizza shop a lot. He would take his nephew, Patrick, in my pizza shop a lot. So it was not uncommon for him to stop by a couple days a week. Usually just grab a slice.
Now,
What if any slice do you
grew up
eat?
in Canton, correct?
Yes,
And do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 6.
And what are the names of your?
Oh my God, we
So
don't
my
need his
oldest
fucking family
is,
tree.
my older brother, Brian. I have a sister, Kathleen. I have she's older than me. And then I'm next in line. And then I have a brother, Kevin, then a brother, Keith, Brendan, and Timmy. 7 O's.
Where is it that you sort of fit in that sort of?
I'm the 3rd oldest.
Now, your older brother, Brian, what does he do for work?
He's a Boston police officer, or he was. He's recently retired.
And your brother Kevin, what does he do?
He's a Canton police officer.
And John O'Keefe, were you familiar with what he did for?
Yes, yeah, I knew he was a Boston police officer as well.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what day of the week that was?
It's a Friday, I believe.
And were you working at the D&E Pizza Shop on that day?
I was.
And at some point in time in the afternoon, who, if anyone of note, sort of came into.
John came in that day with his nephew, Patrick.
And do you recall what did they get that day?
I think they just got 2 slices of pizza, if I recall
What if
correctly.
anything?
And what, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe as far as plans for later in the year?
So he asked me if I had any plans that night, and I said, unfortunately, it's Friday, and I'm working pretty much till close. And I said, but it's my nephew's birthday, and I know a bunch of people are heading out, and I was planning on meeting up with them later when I got out of work. So I think I said to him, I said to him, I'll shoot you a text later if you're around. Maybe we can hook up.
So in that sense, sort of, how would you describe your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe?
Oh, it was a good relationship. Yeah.
Would you consider yourself friends?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, pushing forward on January 28th, about what time was it, if you know, that you sort of closed up shop at?
So the shop stays open until 10. I know that I left sometime a little bit before 10. I had my wife drop me off some clothes it was like a ritual. She would, because those nights are tough for me to get out early and go home. So she dropped me off some clothes, and I remember just changing quick, washing up a little bit, and then leaving. So I think I left before the store actually closed a few minutes.
Now, during the time or prior to you leaving the pizza shop, what, if any, conversation via text did you have with Mr. O'Keefe?
He asked where I was. I said I was still working. And he said something like, why don't you talk to the boss, see if you can get out of there? And I just said, I'm married to this place. It's tough. I'll text you when I leave. And then I shot him a text, I think, when I got down to Waterfall, and I said, where are you? And go ahead. Sorry.
And where did he say that he was?
He was at CF McCarthy's.
Are you familiar with both of those establishments as far as CF McCarthy's and Waterfall?
Yes, I am.
And with regard to your pizza shop, where is CF McCarthy's location to that, and where is Waterfall?
So if I was sitting at my front door looking out, CF McCarthy's would be to my right, and Waterfall would be down the street, diagonal, maybe like 200 yards on the opposite side of the street.
So both sort of walking distance from where you work?
Yeah.
Now, your home on Maple, where is that in relation to those businesses on Washington Street, including your own?
So Maple Street is like, probably from my pizza shop is maybe like a 5-minute walk. You know, it's not far. And a little closer to Waterfall. So maybe it's like a 7-minute walk from D&E and like a 5-minute walk from Waterfall.
And are there any sort of, in the area where you live, is there any sort of like town buildings or anything like that?
Yeah,
Markov, sort of.
I kind of live behind the library. Like you take a left on Maple, and the library is like 2 buildings after me on the left-hand side. And then the town hall is a little further down on the right.
And the library that's around where you live, is that the only public library? In
That's the, besides what's inside schools, yeah, that's the only public library.
And so, again, I'm sorry, but what time is it that you leave D&E to go to Waterfall?
Just before 10, maybe like 9:50-ish.
And as far as meeting up with people, who is it that directs you to go to Waterfall?
I think my wife said, are you coming down? Are you there? She was down there. So I've had a conversation with her. I think that's how I headed down there.
You went there to meet your wife, correct?
Yeah, she was down there.
And you've been to the Waterfall before?
Yes.
And so when you walked into the Waterfall, where did you go as far as, who, if anyone, did you recognize?
So it's pretty much when you walk in, it's just kind of like open. And my wife was there. Matt was there. Matt McCabe was there. Jen McCabe was there. My sister-in-law, Nicole, was there. My niece, Caitlin, was there. I think when I first walked in, that's who was there.
And you mentioned Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you know them?
Well, I grew up with, I didn't grow up with Jen. She's younger than me, but she's lived in Canton for a long time. My brother Brian is married to her sister, Nicole. So I've known her pretty much my whole life.
And you were testifying earlier about some of the people that you and Mr. O'Keefe sort of knew in common. Would Mrs. McCabe be one of those people?
Yes, yeah.
And when you walk in, relative to the establishment, whereabouts were those people situated?
So they were on like a table that was close to the bar. It's like set up. They have like 3 tables in a row, and I think we were maybe either in the middle or the next table to the bar.
So with those 3 sort of tables together, if you know about how long a table are we talking about?
I would say they're about a 6-foot table.
And was this a low top, high top, or something?
It's like a high top.
And located close to the bar, is that correct?
Yes.
What, if anything, do you recall from that evening as far as entertainment within the waterfall?
There was a live band that was playing to the side.
About how close to your table was the live band?
Oh, within like 6 or 7 feet, probably.
Fair to say, pretty loud in there?
Pretty loud, yeah.
And when you walk in, where do you go in reference to sort of the other people upstairs?
I go right over to the table, and I think I walked right over, said hello to them, sat down.
And what, if anything, did you order when you got there?
I ordered a beer.
And did you eat while you were there as well?
I
You
did,
ordered
yeah,
a
I was
bear?
starving. I didn't eat all day, so I ordered some food, appetizers.
And throughout the course of the evening, what is it? You're at a bar, so you're drinking, correct?
Sure.
And what were you drinking?
Miller Lite.
Is that sort of normally what you would drink when you go out?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that initially when you get there, it's yourself, your brother Brian, his wife, the McCabe's, and your niece Caitlin. Is that correct?
No, my brother Brian wasn't there yet. Yeah, it was Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, my wife, Caitlin, and Nicole.
Thank you for correcting.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry.
So at some point shortly after that, or at some points, who, if anyone else, arrives and sort of joins your table?
So my brother Brian and a gentleman named Brian Higgins, they came and joined us.
And is Brian Higgins, is that someone that you had met previously?
Yeah, a few times.
And how did you know him?
I don't know how I initially met him, but probably just seen him around. I knew that he worked as an ATF agent. I knew that he worked inside the Canton Police Department, so I think I knew him from that, just being around.
Fair to say you knew him sort of through your brothers, either Brian or Kevin or both?
Yeah, that's the only way I met him.
And about how long after you arrived was it that they arrived?
I would probably within like 35 minutes, roughly.
And what, if anything, did you know about sort of where they had been prior to or what they had been doing earlier?
So they were in New York at a police officer's funeral. They went there for the ceremony, and the snowstorm was coming, so they decided that they were going to drive back early to beat the storm.
You mentioned, as far as going out on that particular evening, what was that in reference to?
So my nephew, Brian, it was his birthday.
And so when you say your nephew, Brian, whose son is that?
So that's my older brother, Brian's son, Brian.
So Brian Jr.?
Brian Jr., yeah, call him Brian Jr. Yeah.
And was he present at the waterfall that night?
He wasn't, no. He decided that he didn't want to go out.
And
I just want to know how the
when
dude in the
your
wheelchair
brother,
got off the
your
island
brother
on
Brian
Lost.
and Mr. Higgins come in, where is it that they go sort of in relation?
So they walk in and they come directly over to the table.
Now, at some point later in the evening, who, if anyone else, also joins your group or your table?
So John O'Keefe came with Karen Reed.
And how did you know Karen Reed at that time?
I met her a couple times. She also had been in the pizza shop a couple times, and driving by the street when I would come home, she would be outside One Meadows.
And just to be clear, when we're speaking about Ms. Reed, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
You just identify as to where she's seated? Or
She's sitting right over there between the two attorneys.
just ask the record reflect identification?
Okay.
Now, prior to Mr. O'Keefe coming into the waterfall, you had mentioned some text communications with him, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, other communications did you have with Mr. O'Keefe before he got there?
I don't think nothing before I got to the waterfall.
Not before you got to the waterfall, before Mr. O'Keefe got to the waterfall.
With Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
Just that where was he, or where were we going? Where was he going to be?
What, if any, communications do you recall in regard to who was there or who was going to?
With Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think at some point he said, "Who's there?" And I said, "My brother Brian." I said, "Brian." He said, "Your brother Brian?" I said, "Yeah, Brian and Brian Higgins are there." And he said, "Where's your brother Kevin?" And I said, I have no clue. LOL or something.
LOL.
And when Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed come into the bar, where is it that they go upon coming back?
They walked directly in, came towards our table, just a striked up conversation. I think John came over to my wife and said hello to her first, maybe, and then just kind of got with the group, started talking.
John Locke. That was the character's name. How could I forget? I was a philosophy major. John Locke from
Fair to
Lost.
say Mr. O'Keefe knew your wife, Julie, as well?
Yes.
And how would you describe their relationship as far as?
Good relationship.
And when Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant come over to the area where you and your wife is, what, if anything, did you observe the defendant?
Well, when they came over, I think they started talking. At one point, when they first came over, the defendant came in with a glass underneath her jacket, and I thought that was kind of funny, and I laughed about it and made a comment about it.
And what, if anything, did you notice sort of about the glass? What was in the glass? And
It was just a tall, like, cylinder glass with some clear liquid in it and a lime.
And that was under a coat when she came in?
Yeah, it was like she pulled it out.
She just whipped it out. Okay.
If you know about what time was it that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came in?
So I got there close to 10, I would say 10:45-ish, to the best of my recollection.
And following sort of the blows and all that kind of stuff, as far as after they first came in, where did they go from there?
I think the defendant sat down, and I think well, John went to the bar and got a beer.
And you know, is that sort of what John would typically drink?
Yeah, Bud Light, I think.
And you mentioned that the defendant sat down. Where does she sit down in relation to you and your wife?
I think right next to, next to my wife.
Now, with regard to just how would you describe sort of the general sort of tone or demeanor within the group at the waterfall that night?
It was fine. Everyone's just having a good time.
So no arguments, anything like that?
No, not at all.
And specifically between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, what, if anything, did you observe between them?
I didn't notice anything abnormal.
Now, if you recall, what was Mr. O'Keefe wearing on that evening?
Blue jeans, baseball hat, and kind of like a pullover light
I
sweatshirt.
got the brain. It said AB
grayish
normal. Some
garment. I don't know what
Abby
you would call it. It
normal.
wasn't like a hoodie, and it wasn't. It's like a long sleeve shirt.
Is that what he was wearing when he walked in?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you see him with like a jacket or anything like that?
No.
Now, as far as your observations of Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, did you observe about that clothing as far as any tears or any dishevelment of it at all?
No, I didn't notice anything. It looked fine to me.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe, his person himself, what, if anything, did you observe as far as any injuries or anything like that?
Didn't see anything. Looked normal.
Now, after Mr. O'Keefe went to the bar and got a beer, do you know where he went from there?
Just came back over to the table, started chatting people up.
And when you say the table, was that sort of your area or was there a different area than?
No, the same table, the same high top. Some people are sitting, some people are standing.
Welcome,
And
Aussie
as far
Overlord
as
Raiders.
sort of
Thank you for
length
being here and hit
described
that
about
like
6
and
feet or
subscribe
so of
button.
that table. If you recall, sort of where were people situated around the table?
I mean, I was sitting at one point because I was eating. So I was sitting in one seat. My wife was sitting in another seat. Matt and Jen was sitting in another seat. I recall John standing a lot. I don't think he sat at all. I think Karen was sitting at one point, probably like situated near, maybe across from my wife or next to my wife.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, do you recall anything specific that you discussed or talked about while you were there that night?
No, nothing in particular.
And throughout sort of the course of the time that you were there, what, if any, discussion was there as to going someplace or wanting to go someplace after the waterfall?
So we have this like little ritual that when one of my nieces or nephews turn 21, we go back to the pizza shop, like, you know, after hours and turn on the oven and make pizzas and stuff. And there was talk about going back there. Miss Reed asked if we could go back and make pizzas up at my pizza shop a couple times. And then there was some talk about maybe after, someone mentioned going back to my brother's house after.
And just to be clear, your brother's house, which brother?
My brother Brian.
And where did your brother Brian live at?
34 Fairview.
You familiar with that address?
Yeah, I used to live there, grew up there.
He just told you the
So
address.
prior
Of
to
course he's
being your
familiar
brother
with it.
Brian's house, was that your parents' house?
My parents' house, yeah.
So that's where you and your siblings essentially grew up from the time that you moved to Canton?
Yes.
Now, as far as going over to your pizza shop to make pizzas, things like that, is that something that the defendants talked about once or more than once?
A few times.
And you referenced sort of this ritual when one of your nieces or nephews turned 21, and it was your nephew Brian Jr.'s birthday the following day, is that correct?
Yeah,
Was he turning 21 at that point?
I think so. I can't remember exactly if he was 20 or 21. I think he was turning 21 though.
So in relation to this evening of January 28th, that the ritual that you were talking about, when was the last time before January 28th that you had done that, if you know?
Trying to see who else turned 21. Can't remember exactly. I know it was recent. I remember doing it. I just can't remember the date.
And that's all I'm really asking, sir.
Yeah.
Was it recent to January 28th?
Yeah, it was sometime before that, but within like a couple of months, I think someone turned 21. Maybe we just went there.
And so what, if any, conversation from your end, as far as, obviously it's your pizza shop. So
Yeah.
what, if any, conversation from your end was there in reference
To doing that night. So we were doing a weight loss competition, me, Matt McCabe, and my brother Brian. And we had like 2 more weeks left in it. And we do it, every year, it's like a charity, we do it. And the proceeds go to like scholarship funds. So I said no, because we were doing this weight loss challenge and I just didn't want to give in and, you know, eat pizza 2 weeks before we were weighing in.
Lame.
And-
Eat the pizza.
Your wife, Julie, how long was she at the bar for?
Not long when I got there. She probably was only there for maybe 35, 40 minutes. She had a migraine. She wanted to go home, so she left.
So she indicated she had a migraine and she was going home?
Yeah, she didn't feel well.
And was that before or after Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed arrived?
She left after they arrived. So then she must have left later than that. Yeah.
Now, later on in the evening, what, if anything, did you buy for the group?
So
All
at
right,
one
we
point
are
towards
up
the end
to
of the night,
20
I bought
what
a
if
round of
any's.
fireball
We're
shots
1/5 of the way there.
for the group.
And who partook in that, if you know?
I don't remember exactly. Probably half of the people there took them. I don't remember everyone. I wasn't paying attention.
And when you say sort of towards the end of the night, when was it that things sort of wrapped up with water?
I think they called last call at right before 12. I pretty much right before 12, it all started wrapping up.
And as far as the group that you were with at the high top table, who, if anyone, from that group left first?
So my wife left first. Obviously, she didn't feel well. She left earlier. Then Brian and Brian left. My sister-in-law left. Matt and Jen
Good
left.
night, Bruce. Bruce, good night, Bruce.
I
Bruce,
left
This is my friend
probably
Bruce.
second to last. I probably left last with John and Karen, or right around the time that John and Karen left.
And do you recall, as far as you're leaving around the same time, do you recall walking out together or seeing them outside, or where is it that you recall sort of leaving at the same time?
My best recollection is I walked out roughly the same time, and I walked out the building, and I come up Washington to the right, and they were either shortly after or shortly before me, and they walk up to the left.
And when you say walk up Washington, did you walk home that night?
Yeah, I walked home.
And when you came out of the bar, what, if anything, did you notice sort of about the weather or what was going on with that?
It just started snowing. It was cold out, and it just started snowing. The ground had like a light coat.
Could you still sort of see the street? Or
Oh yeah, you could still see it.
And you mentioned you walked out towards Washington, and Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed did as well.
Yes.
And which direction? Did you go in the same direction, different direction?
So when you come out the building, you have to go to the left in order to get onto Washington. So I come out to the left
No,
and then go to the
Catherine,
right
a
onto
light dusting
Washington,
of snow is not bad.
and they would go to the left onto Washington.
They were sort of walking opposite
Opposite directions.
on Washington.
Yes.
Now, as far as throughout sort of the course of the evening, did you have occasion to see sort of what Mr. O'Keefe mentioned that he went to the bar and he got a beer? Was that the only beer that you saw him having, or did he have more than one?
I'm sure he had more than one. Yeah, I saw him with more than one.
So you saw him, but essentially what I'm asking is throughout the course of the evening when you saw him drinking, other than maybe the fireball shot, you saw him just drinking beer?
Just beer.
And
Bud
as
Light
far
and
as Ms. Reed
Fireball.
was concerned, what, if anything, did you observe?
Do
her
better. Do
drinking,
better.
of course, the evening?
Just a clear liquid in a glass. I assume it was some sort of vodka drink.
Was that the same glass that she had come into the establishment with under her coat, or was it a different glass later on?
I believe it was the same one.
So you leave from the waterfall and you're walking home, is that right?
Correct.
Fair to say you didn't go to 34 Fairview that
I
night?
did not.
And about what time was it that you got home?
Sometime between, I'd say 5 past and 10 past 12, somewhere in that window.
And was your wife home at that point?
She was.
And as far as your children were concerned, how many of your 3 sons were living with you at that time?
At that time, 2. My 16-year-old, well, he wasn't 16 years old at the time, but my 16-year-old and my 20-year-old.
And so 16 and 20 now is actually,
16 and 20 now, so that'd be like 14 and 18 then, I guess.
and so your oldest son,
He was in the San Diego in the Navy.
and if you know, or did you check or anything as far as your kids when you got home, were they there, if you know?
No, I ran right upstairs. I was freezing. I went right into my room.
Essentially you went to bed, is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish for the jury just a small portion from what's been marked as Exhibit 53, the waterfall surveillance.
Okay.
Cloak and
Ms.
Glomer
Gilman,
says,
if I could
if this
have,
was a movie, the
channel
ending
3
would
second
show
video
the
down.
prosecution was bribed to throw the case. That's how bad and insane this has been. Thank you so much.
You could just pause there for a moment, Ms. Gilman.
And Tammy Fayette, hi, breadstick money, enjoy.
Mr. Albert, looking up at the screen, do you recognize generally what's depicted up on the screen?
Yeah, so those are the tables that I was speaking of that are like, there's like 2 or 3 in a row. Yep.
I'm sorry, may I approach on?
Yes.
I don't have any.
And Stingy member for 18 months, just here to burn a free chat. Thanks for the 18 months, Vices. Thank you for being a
what I'm
supporter for
handing to you
18
is a
months.
laser pointer, basically just click that button and point it up.
Okay.
Oh God, the bar
Mr.
videos.
Albert, using that laser pointer that I've just handed to you, if you could direct the jury's attention to about where the high top is and then about where you were seated at that high top.
So here's the high top. And I can't really see myself, to be honest with you, this far away. But somewhere, I think I ate on this side here,
And as far as the bar is concerned, where would that be?
back here. Wait. Oh, so this is from walking into the waterfall. Okay, so the bar is after. So that's the high top next to the bar. The bar's back there.
And as far as the band that you were talking about that was playing, if you could direct the jury's attention to where that was.
On this side over here. It's kind of fuzzy, but that's it.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to fast forward to 1054. And, I would ask if you could play that from 1054 to about 1056. I'm sorry, if you could just pause briefly, Ms. Gilman. Now, Mr. Albert, looking up at the screen, as far as the door that you came out and the door that you eventually exited from the waterfall, do you see sort of that general area and where that is in the video?
No, because I think it's offline here. I think it would be over here.
So it would be off sort of towards the left, is that?
Yeah, like down this way.
Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
Oh, I wish we could fast forward. I'm so sick of seeing this video.
As far as two individuals sort of walking in, do you recognize who those individuals are?
I do. That's John O'Keefe and Miss Reed.
And again, Ms. Gilman, if you could just run it.
Well, that's very nice of him to call her Miss Reed, not Ms. Reed. So cool. And Tammy Fayette with the $5. So what are your thoughts about what you've seen so far in this trial? I'm a bit fatigued on it and can't concentrate on the testimony. You are missing nothing. You've missed nothing yesterday or so far today. It's been people just saying that John and Karen were deeply in love. They were lovey-dovey with each other, never fighting. They're a perfectly normal couple. They're looking forward to taking a vacation together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all you've missed, and I don't know why the prosecution is eliciting that testimony. Because their theory is that they were breaking up, and because of that, Karen Reed decided to run him over with a car suddenly. And Tanny Simmons has just joined the welcome to the Clean and Sober crew. She's just joined the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you so much, Tanny. Appreciate that. Thank you for the support. All right, we've lost things to talk about during this video, so we'll just continue to sit here and watch people do stuff. And there's a guy playing a guitar up there under 2022. Apparently they had their live band going at the time. It's singers and the drummer. I wonder if they have the drum mic'd.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. You can take that down.
I hate when you're in a small bar and the drummer thinks he has to put a mic on his drum. God, I hate that.
Now, Mr. Albert, as far as your son, Colin, you know sort of where he was that night?
Yes. So he was at my brother Brian's house for my nephew's birthday.
And he came home sometime after you, is that correct?
Correct.
And essentially you came in, went to bed, so you know what time your son came home that night?
I know that.
Do you know, just answer yes or no whether you know.
Yes.
And how do you know that?
Because he opened the bedroom door and said, "Good night, guys. I love you. I'm home."
And about how long after you got home was it that your son came home?
I'd say within 10 minutes.
And as far as sort of coming into your room, is that something that was required of your kids when they came home?
He would always do that. Yeah. That was something just to let us know that they were home.
Now, turning your attention to the next day on the 29th, about obviously at some point you woke up. Do you recall about what time that was?
8-ish, 8:30-ish.
So sometime between 8 and 8:30?
Yeah. I was still in bed. I woke up, but I didn't leave my room.
And what was it that, or who was it that woke you up that time?
At that time, I just woke up on my own.
And when you woke up, what happened after you woke up?
Shortly after I woke up, my wife entered the room, but that was a little bit later. I don't know exactly what time. And she informed me that something had happened to John.
And what was it that you told?
I don't know the exact words that she said, but basically that
Beat his ass.
John had died.
And what, if anything, did she indicate to you as to where John had died?
That he was found somewhere on the front lawn of 34 Fairview.
And receiving that information.
That was an odd noise.
Where did you go, or where did you and your wife?
I was in shock. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?" And then I jumped up, and she's like, we have to go over. Let's go over to your brother's house.
And about what time was it, if you know, that you got over to your brother's house?
Sometime
Jesus.
approximately like after 9 o'clock.
Someone
I don't
cast
remember
the
exactly
demons
what
out of
time
whoever
we went
that
over there,
was.
maybe 9 or 9:30.
And when you arrived at your brother's house, who, if anyone, was there?
25 what
To the
ifs.
best of my excuse me. From what I remember, I was there. My wife was there. My brother Brian, Nicole, Brian Higgins was there. I believe Matt McCabe was there, and Jen McCabe was there.
You're the
When you
only other
came
person
into
I've
the home,
ever heard,
where
other than
were they?
myself, use the
Just
term
sitting at the
barking
kitchen
spider.
table.
Kudos for barking spider references.
And if you know, about how long did you stay at your brother's house when you came over?
Maybe an hour.
And where did you go from there?
Afterwards, just home.
Now, as far as subsequent to this, at some point within the days that followed, did you have occasion to speak with some troopers or members of the state police?
Yes, I did.
And how many troopers from the state police did you talk to when you spoke?
2
And where was that?
at my condo.
Thanks. I have no further questions.
Okay, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
25 what if any's. We're 1/4 of the way to 100.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Albert, you and I have never met, correct?
I don't believe so.
You've testified that you essentially lived in Canton your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Moved there when you were 4 years old?
Correct.
And the house to which you and your family moved was 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You lived there for how long?
33 years?
And you currently own D&E Pizza in Canton?
Correct.
We
I
know
believe
that
you
already.
testified that you've owned it for approximately 25 years.
Correct.
Clearly, you have a lot of ties to the city of Canton. Would you agree?
Yes.
Sure.
You live there,
Yes.
you work there,
Yes.
you have family there,
Yep.
you raised your kids there,
Yep.
and you also are a town selectman in the city of Canton. Or
Recently elected.
the town of Canton, I should say.
It's a town. Correct.
And not only that, but your brother, Kevin Albert, is a police officer in Canton.
He is.
Your brother, Brian Albert, with whom you grew up, is currently retired, but had been a Boston police officer who lived in Canton, correct?
Correct.
You would agree with me that Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
I'll
Did he
phrase
move
it
after
the
the-
exact
Oh
same
my
way and
God.
ask for a yes
Yeah.
or no if you can do that? You would agree with
Listen
me
carefully.
that your brother Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I just don't understand the phrase, but he moved shortly after that. Yes.
Shortly after.
Your brother Tim Albert lives with your parents in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And Tim Albert and your parents live directly across the street from the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whom they bought that house from?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
But you still live in Canton
Correct.
with your wife Julie Albert
Correct.
and your son Colin Albert, correct?
Along with my other two sons. Yes.
And you would agree that your entire family has deep roots in the town of Canton.
I guess.
You would agree with me that the Albert family is well known in the town of Canton.
We have a big family.
And you would agree with me that the Albert family is a powerful family in the town of Canton.
Objection.
Sustained.
Yeah.
As a town selectman, you have some power, do you not?
I'm one of 5 selectmen.
And as a police detective, Kevin Albert has some power, does he not?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you also have close friends on the Canton Police Department, do you not?
Objection.
I'll allow
I have some.
Now, you know that Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor is the lead investigator on this case, correct?
I know that.
One of your wife's best friends is Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
that. Okay, that's sustained. You've got another witness. You can ask that of, Mr. Yannetti.
You know Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Allowed.
Yes.
Yeah. What,
And
that's a
you know her
weird thing to
be
object
Michael
to.
Proctor's sister, correct?
That's correct.
You attended Michael Proctor's sister's wedding, correct?
Objection. Now, may we approach?
Sure. Why don't you come on over?
Lawyer calls for a sidebar. Mark that off on your bingo card. If you're playing bingo at home with us, make sure you mark off your free space. We've had sort of. We've had what if any. We've had heavy Boston accent and lawyer calls for sidebar. Oh, wait, we also had a who if anyone. So, okay, forgot that. All right. So who if anyone, lawyer calls for sidebar, sort of, what if any, and heavy Boston accent. All righty then. As I said, Tammy, you've missed nothing. We're still, I don't know, as potentially criminal called it, we're world building with this weird background and how many kids, what are their names, where does everybody live, what's your job, where did you live 10 years ago, just questions like that. You haven't missed much. Tanny Simmons with the $2. The house that was subsequently sold. Yes, they finally got that testimony in. They finally got the testimony that he moved. See, I think it looks bad. He should have just said yes, but he had to say he moved shortly after the dead body was found on his front lawn. He kind of stepped in it a little bit when he said he moved shortly after. And if we're keeping score at home, by my account, we have 25 what if any's or variations on that particular theme. So we get to 100, it's a shot of absinthe, and the first witness got us 25% of the way there, got us a quarter of the way there. We'll just have to see how it goes. And while they're futzing around at the sidebar, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We've got 446 people here. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're here. You could be anywhere in the universe doing anything you want. And thank you so much for choosing to spend your time here with me. And just while you're being so nice about everything, make sure you just kind of reach down there and click that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would, because we're trying to work our way up to 75,800. We've got less than 100 to get there. And let's see, our like and subscribe poll so far is what will today's what if any tally be? 5% of you said 0 to 25. Well, you're going to lose because the next one kicks us out of that range. The majority, well, not the majority, the largest percentage of you, 34% said 26 to 50. 30% of you so far have said 51 to 75, what ifs any, and 31% of you are thinking 75 to 100. That's the current status of the poll. And again, if you're just catching up, please make sure you enjoy the fun with us by downloading the bingo card, and you just click the link and generate it. You don't have to actually download anything. And we'll go over what boxes have been ticked so far in just a little bit again. This is a particularly long sidebar. The dogs are snoring. I don't know if you can hear the dogs now or not, but they're snoring quietly. It's not me breathing heavy or snorting. Oh, and Tanny Simmons, that is apparently Tanny Simmons' 10th super chat on a live stream. Cool. Thanks. Okay. Moving could sound sympathetic, and they make it shady by avoidance. Yeah, he should have just said, yeah, he moved after this. That's all he had to do was say yes. But dang, he had to say shortly after. The house that their father lived in. The house has been there forever. Flux says she's in the 51 to 75 bracket. I keep having to check to make sure I've got the audio on. And Tammy Fayette with another $2. I have faith in Lally's prowess in what if any. Well, he's a fucking Jedi master of what if any. He's like a 10th degree what if any black belt. So yeah, he's the hey, Nicola Maxwell is here. What's up? Just here. Fiery Red is fab. Let's help. We all love him. Blessings to him and hope everyone is okay. Jeff, you care about Vice Squad. That's why we're the best. You are the best. Every one of you, every one of the 439 people here are a member of the Vice Squad, and you guys rock. Oh, I had to dismiss the bingo message to see the poll. Well. If you wanted to see my poll, all you had to do was ask. Just saying. All right. I'm struggling to hear anything as Buster feels the need to bark at the men in my yard constantly. Well, would Buster be barking if there was, per se, a dead cop on your front yard? How would he react to a dead police officer? Oh, hello, Jeff. Mods in chat. I've tried twice to purchase a merch pint glass. It is denied. Any idea why that might be? Is it on international purchase? Thank you. I have no idea. I have no idea. I really, really don't. I'll have to check that out. Denied. This is a pretty long side beer. Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. We're back.
I believe you testified, sir, that you've known Michael Proctor's sister for about 20 years.
Objection.
I don't think he said that, but we'll let that stand and then move on, please.
Yeah, why would that be an objection?
About 20 years. You testified.
Or if that's,
I believe, didn't you testify to that on direct examination just moments ago when Mr. Lally was asking you questions?
objection, Your Honor.
What?
Next question, Mr. Unity, objection sustained.
How long have you known Michael Proctor for?
I mean, I know he's Courtney's brother. I couldn't tell you exactly how long I've known him for.
About 15 years or so?
Roughly.
Who is Kenneth Berkowitz,
The former Canton police chief.
and how do you know him?
His son and my son are the same age. So they played on some sports teams when they were younger together. I think that's when I first came to know Ken.
You became friendly with him.
I became friendly with him, sure.
And how would you characterize your relationship with him?
Sexual.
Friends?
Oh, sorry.
You've seen him socially.
Really?
You've been out for drinks with him.
I think maybe once.
And you've known him for how long?
20 plus years.
And you say you've only been out with him for drinks one time in those 20 years?
I can't even remember if it was with drinks one time. Yeah, no.
What other types of activities have you done together?
I can't think of any. I think he came to an event that I held one time.
If
That's
you've
about it.
never seen him in 20 years,
Have you been
how
out
do you
with
know him for
in
20
a group
years?
setting?
That event that I just mentioned, yeah.
And what event was that?
It was my campaign event when I was running for select board.
He was one of your supporters.
He came by.
Did he donate money to your campaign?
I think he did.
May we approach, Judge?
Yes.
All right. Well, here we go again with another sidebar. Come on, defense, wrap this up. We got to get some more what if any's out of the prosecution. You two had problems with ordering Jeff's merch. I'm gonna have to order some more of my merch just to see if there's a deal. But anyway, that's just for you. I don't make anything off of the merch. That's just there for people to have fun with.
Sir, I'm going to display a photograph with the court's permission on the screen, and I'd ask you to take a look at it, and if you let the jury
Do you have a
know.
hard copy of it?
Yes, we do have a hard copy.
So why don't you show it to the witness and
Happy
put
to
it in
do that.
evidence?
Thank you, Ron.
And we'll take that into evidence and then.
That makes sense. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, sir, I've handed you a photograph. Do you recognize what that depicts?
Yes.
What does it depict?
Me and Kenny Berkowitz.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of you and Kenny Berkowitz?
You mean is the picture us?
Yes.
Yes.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm glad a witness finally asked a lawyer that. What
Oh, wait.
is this the plain language? What you're asking?
Oh.
May that be published to the jury on the screen, Your Honor?
Sure.
So, Mr. Albert, that's obviously you on the right and Kenny Berkowitz on the left.
Correct.
Have you seen that photo before?
I believe I've seen it.
Do you recall when?
I believe that's my fundraiser for when I was running for the select board, that event that I spoke of earlier.
Okay. And when would it have been that you saw that photograph?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it was on my Facebook page when I was running for select board. It looks familiar.
Has Mr. Lally shown you that photograph?
No,
Has he informed you that the defense would be introducing that photograph during this trial?
nope.
You can take the photo down, Mr. Bates. And the lights can go off. You would agree with me that one of your functions as a selectman is to oversee public safety in the town?
Yes,
And you would agree that the police department is a key component of public safety in the town of Canton?
yes,
So part of your duties as a town selectman is to oversee the Canton Police Department, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll let him have it.
Oh.
Is that one of your duties, sir?
I believe so. I'm new at that. I'm recently elected, so I'm just going through it. But yeah, I believe so.
And you became a town selectman shortly after Kenny Berkowitz retired, correct?
I'm not sure when Kenny retired.
But you would agree with me that Kenny Berkowitz has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
You would agree with me that the former Canton Police Chief, Kenny Berkowitz, has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family.
Objection, Your Honor. It's the same question.
Go ahead and answer that question.
I'm not sure. I agree with that question.
Well, your brother Kevin Albert worked under Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Correct.
Would you consider that to be a professional relationship?
With them too, yes.
And your brother Brian Albert attended Chief Berkowitz's retirement party, did he not?
I have no idea.
But your brother Brian is also a friend of Kenny Berkowitz, is he not?
He may be, not sure.
And as far as your, ties to the Canton Police, you would agree with me that Lieutenant Michael Blank is a member of the Canton Police Department, correct?
He is.
And you've been friends with him for years, correct?
I've known him for a long time.
You've been childhood friends with him since the age of 12, correct?
Somewhere around there, maybe earlier.
And you're tight with him.
I don't know if I call it tight.
He's not an enemy of yours, is he?
Oh, God, no.
No, he's a friend of yours, correct?
Sure.
And does sure mean yes?
Yes.
Now, your older brother, Brian, you've already testified, was a Boston police officer for years, correct?
Correct.
And he achieved some notoriety on a television show, did he not?
Objection.
Okay.
He was in the fugitive unit.
Correct.
And you know that your brother Brian was also a trained boxer, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Brian is a lot bigger guy than you are, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your brother Brian Albert is someone who is close to his family, correct?
Yes.
And when I say his family, I'm talking about not just his, wife and children, but also his extended family, correct?
Yes.
You were part of his family, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And your son Colin is part of his family, correct?
Yes.
The Albert family is close, correct?
Yes.
You all essentially grew up in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And you hung out with each other growing up, correct?
We were siblings, so
Of course.
yes.
And you still hang out with each other quite often, correct?
Like all of us,
In various combinations.
we have different relationships with my siblings.
Sure. But you see some more than others, but you hang out with your family, do you not?
Yeah, mostly during holidays,
And you go out for drinks together, correct?
occasionally,
And you're protective of each other, correct?
like most families.
And if someone had a dispute with a member of the Albert family, Brian wouldn't be happy about that, correct?
Objection.
Same,
You know that Brian would stick up for your kids, correct?
Objection.
same.
Your son
Careful.
Colin is particularly close to your brother Brian, is he not?
Objection.
I'll let him have that. Do you know?
Yes.
In fact, your son Colin was a football player through high school, was he not?
Yes.
What was his number?
In high school,
Yes.
34, I believe.
And was that for 34 Fairview?
I don't think so.
Now, you testified you moved to Maple Street in Canton not long before January 28th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And before that, you lived at 7 Meadows Ave in Canton?
Correct.
And that was when John O'Keefe was your neighbor, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified he was a couple of houses away from you?
Yes.
And he was your neighbor for a series of years, was he not?
Yes.
While he was living in the neighborhood, you knew that he was working as a Boston police officer, correct?
Correct.
And you were familiar with him, correct?
What do you mean? What do you mean familiar?
You knew who he was, you became familiar with
Yeah, he
him.
was my neighbor. I knew who he was.
And you knew that he was not married, correct?
Yes.
And at a certain point, you knew that he was dating Karen Reed.
Yeah, at some point.
All right. Now, you would agree with me that your family has a police background, sir, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
2 of your brothers are or were police officers, correct?
Out of 7 of us, yes.
And you knew friends of your brothers who were also police officers or in law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you had already testified that you know some members of the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And you socialized with police officers, did you not?
Have I? Sure.
You've been to bars with police officers, correct?
Correct.
And you've drank with police officers, right?
Sure.
And you were friendly with police officers, correct?
Yes.
And with regard to, I'd like to ask you some questions about people specifically connected to this case. We've established that Lieutenant Lank has been a friend of yours for years, correct?
Yes.
We've established that you know former police chief Kenneth Berkowitz in such a way that you feel comfortable calling him before this jury Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
I know Kenny. Yep.
And he's actually donated to your campaign when you were running for town selectman, correct?
Correct.
And you also knew Michael Proctor prior to January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
You've attended social events together with him, have you not?
Objection.
I'll let that one question.
Couple.
So at some point, Michael Proctor came to question you, did he not?
Along with another trooper. Correct.
And at the point in time when Michael Proctor came to question you, you knew who he was, correct?
Yes.
You knew him by face, correct?
Correct.
And you knew him by name, correct?
Correct.
There was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you, was there?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did he say when he first walked in the door in terms of introductions?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen as sidebar?
Sure.
I mean, he's asking these questions so that the jury can see as he said, you have deep ties to the community. They're friendly with all the police officers. He calls the former police chief by Kenny. He's trying to. He might be going over the line a bit. So he just basically wants to. He knows everybody that's involved in this deeply, and so therefore, they would all stick up for each other. I guess that's where he's going, but he might be wearing the jury out. I get it. This is the brother of the guy whose home was the scene of whatever happened, and the dead body was found on his brother's lawn. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful. You don't. You don't just bore the jury or make the jury start getting annoyed that you're asking these questions. I think you could streamline this a bit more. But Tanny Simmons with a $5 super chat. In all these trials, one consistent theme is some good witnesses don't know it's better to answer simply and honestly. Dodgy and defensive isn't a good look. I completely agree with you. Dodgy and defensive generally doesn't sit well with the jury, but neither does what the prosecution do. I think this is probably the worst cross-examination of the prosecution's had so far. I mean, that's saying a lot because they're always very good. But let's just see, Rhonda Crump's, I think it's still relevant, but I think he could get to the point a little quicker. I don't think it's
without getting
improper.
into the precise
little
wording, you'd agree with me that there was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you for that meeting, correct?
Yes.
He didn't need to say, "How do you do? I am Michael Proctor," correct?
No.
No. Do you consider the Proctors to be the Albert second family?
Objection.
Do you consider that?
No.
You are aware that there are members of the Proctors family who have posted publicly that the
Objection,
Alberts
Your
are
Honor.
their second family, correct?
So the objection is sustained and I'm striking that question. Disregard.
Now, at the time that Trooper Michael Proctor showed up to question you, sir, you knew that.
Oh yeah, I meant
Karen Reed had
defense
been
cross. Sorry, thanks.
charged in this case, correct?
Yes, I meant defense cross.
Yes.
When I'm thinking about doing
And
bad
you
questioning,
knew
I've been thinking of the
that
prosecution the whole time.
John O'Keefe had been found dead on your brother's lawn, correct?
Correct.
Did it occur to you that it was odd that the state police sent somebody from the Proctor family to interview you
Objection, Your Honor.
on February 10th of 2022?
Sustained.
All right. Now, you've testified that on January 28th of 2022, that day, that Friday that you were working, John O'Keefe stopped into D&E Pizza, your shop, correct?
Correct.
And there was discussion about whether you would be going out that night, and if so, where you would be, correct?
Correct.
Now, you've previously, on direct examination, characterized your relationship with him as being friends, correct?
Correct.
It's fair to say, however, that prior to January 28th of 2022, you had never exchanged personal information with John O'Keefe, correct?
You mean, I'm sorry, you mean like phone numbers or what?
A cell number prior to that day.
No, I didn't.
And at that point in time, he had lived in
You
your
are
neighborhood.
totally
for
welcome
4 to
here.
5
All new
years,
people
correct?
are welcome. Thank you for
Correct.
being here, especially with the cute little doggo you've got there.
So I
Well,
believe you've testified that that night after working, you went out around 10 minutes of 10 p.m.
Roughly.
Before going out, did you have anything alcoholic to drink?
I think I may have had a beer at my pizza shop. I don't remember exactly.
So you have a refrigerator there that you can keep drinks cold, correct?
Among other things.
And you do have beers in that fridge for
Sometimes.
personal use.
Sometimes.
Do you know how many beers that you would have had before going out?
No.
And would you have drank that beer as you were cleaning up at the end of the night?
Probably.
Did you have anything to eat at the pizza shop?
No.
When did you last eat before you went out at 9:50 or so?
When did I last eat?
Yes.
It's a long time ago. I'm not sure.
And you knew that your wife Julie was starting the night at CF McCarthy's, correct?
Yes.
And you couldn't meet her there because you were still working, right?
Correct.
But at some point you heard that Julie and others were headed to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
And that was where you planned to go after you closed up D&E Pizza.
Correct.
With regard to the time that you left, 9:50 or so is your best estimate of when you're closing the doors and walking over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And the waterfall is a short walk to D&E Pizza,
Yes.
maybe about 3 minutes?
About that.
And your plan was to walk there that night, correct?
Correct.
You had not taken a car to D&E Pizza anyway, right?
I don't believe so.
So what time did you get to the waterfall?
Shortly before 10. I don't know exactly.
All right. And yeah, I believe you've testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were not there when
Do
you arrived,
Really
right?
stick to the rivers and lakes.
And the
you're
food that
used
you
to?
ordered, do you remember what appetizers you would have gotten?
Probably like potato skins and some sort of chicken tenders. I would guess. It's 2 years ago, so I don't remember exactly.
And did you order a drink along with the appetizers?
I believe so.
All right, and that would have been the Miller Lite that you talked about?
Correct.
Then not long after you got there, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins showed up, correct?
Correct.
And you had met Brian Higgins prior to that night.
Yes.
In fact, you had testified that you had seen him around quite a bit, correct?
A few times.
And you knew him, I believe your testimony was, from him working inside the Canton police station, correct?
I knew that he worked there.
Did you testify on direct examination, quote, I knew him from working inside Canton PD?
Yes.
And you've been inside Canton Police, correct?
Maybe twice in my life.
You knew that Brian Albert, your brother, and Brian Higgins were friends, correct?
I knew they knew each other.
So are you saying that they were acquaintances?
No, I guess they're friends.
You guess they're friends?
Yeah, they're friends.
Was there something confusing about my question the first time I asked?
Argumentative.
Objection, Your Honor.
In any case, would you agree that shortly before Brian Albert and Brian Higgins arrived at the waterfall, or shortly after they did, there was a couple whom, I believe you call them a Greek couple because their last name is difficult to pronounce for everybody. But do you remember them being there?
Yes.
All right. If I mention the name Kolakithis, does that ring a bell? Or do you...
That's them, yeah.
That's them. Okay. And the whole group was either standing or sitting around a high top table?
Correct.
And at 9:45 p.m., you texted John O'Keefe while you were at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that the language of your text was, quote, get over here or I'll fuck up your lawn, end quote?
That was one of the texts.
I may just have a moment.
Okay. But I mean, that can be a friendly thing too. Like, get over here, I'm going to fuck up your lawn. Yesterday, they said they were like, someone didn't want to go out, so they were calling them pussies in text, and then they had to come out so they wouldn't be pussy. Friendly banter.
Oh, do we have, just say, okay. I'm sorry, I don't think I asked to approach.
Go, that's fine.
Thank you. I've placed a document before you, sir, take a look at that and tell the jury whether or not you recognize it.
Yeah, I recognize it.
What is it?
It's a text message, 2 text messages.
Okay. And who are the participants in that text message exchange?
Me and John.
And what is it that you said and at what time?
So the first one,
Approach.
Okay. Come on over.
I'm so torn. So this is not the defense's best cross-examination. Is the questioning by and large isn't improper. A lot of it calls for speculation, a lot of it's argumentative, but by and large it's proper questioning. It's just, I mean, when it's dragging on, as Flux said earlier, it just seems squirrely. I don't know how I feel, but it seems to be Ms. K. Griff's birthday today. Hey, happy birthday, Ms. K. Griff. And it seems the dogs have picked up the bone that they chew on, so it's going to get a little bit chewy in here. Do you think Jackson is better on cross? No, they are both amazing at cross-examination. I just think he's trying to get too much information out of this one witness. Again, I know why he wants to get it, and I know he thinks it's important that he just talks about how deeply involved in all the law enforcement community they are, and how that, you know, that now he's apparently trying to make it sound like he's threatening John that if he doesn't show up, he's actually going to mess up his lawn. I really can't put into words how I feel about the defense in this particular cross-examination. Up to this point, they've all been stellar. This one's kind of meh. But yeah, exactly.
So I did
How much is too
yesterday.
much?
So before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not true that the person who either authored or sent or created or transmitted the communication was in fact John O'Keefe and this witness, Chris Albert. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that John O'Keefe sent one, or that this witness was the person who sent the message or transmitted it, then you may not consider it in deciding this case. So you have clarification a bit, Mr. Yannetti, at this point?
I do, yes. And just for the record and for the juror's edification, this is part of Exhibit 48, which is already in evidence. But I would ask that this particular exchange be posted on the screen with the court's permission.
Sure.
Okay. And so you'd agree that when you say it was 2 text messages, they're both with regard to the same subject, correct?
What do you mean? I don't follow you.
It says get over here, right? And then the second is a continuation of that. If not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, correct?
With a hysterical
So you mean
laughing
that's
emoji next to it.
To tell him to come over to the waterfall.
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you meant.
That's fine. So you're telling John O'Keefe this, correct?
Yeah, I'm telling him to come over and meet us.
All right. And that little emoji, that face emoji after, if not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, that's.
Yeah, it's a laughing face.
Right. So you're.
It's a joke.
And you're cracking up.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
Okay. We can take that down. At about 10:45 p.m. or so, I believe you
Lame.
testified that was when John O'Keefe walked into the bar with his girlfriend, Karen Reed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Would you agree with me that between the time you arrived and the time you eventually left, that you did go up to the bar within that establishment a few times
I'm sure he did.
and bought a few rounds of drinks,
I'm sure.
including that one round of fireball shots?
Correct.
What was the state of your sobriety when John and Karen arrived?
Probably fine. Fine.
All right. You didn't feel like intoxicated
No.
or unable to, perceive what's going on. You were still in control of your faculties.
Yes.
And is it true that after John and Karen arrived, that your wife Julie didn't want to stay any longer, or too much longer?
She didn't want to. She had a headache, so she wanted to go home.
Right. And by that point in time, you had been there about an hour, maybe a little less.
When Karen and John arrived?
Right.
Yeah, about an hour.
And you were having fun.
Sure.
And so Julie drove home, but you stayed, correct?
Correct.
All right. And in terms of Karen Reed's drinking, as far as you could see, she had that glass that she came in with that appeared to have a clear liquid in it, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you said either a lime or a lemon.
Thought I said a lime, but yep.
Okay. And you assumed that was, vodka and soda water or vodka in some type of mixer, correct? That was clear?
Correct.
And if she was, while drinking that night, if she was mixing in water in between alcoholic drinks, it would have been impossible for you to discern which drinks were water and which drinks were vodka, correct?
Yeah, I would have no idea.
You can't tell that by eyeballing a drink, right?
No.
Because both liquids are clear.
Yes.
And in order to discern that, you'd actually have to be given a sip to see, right? Okay. But in any case, Karen did not appear to be under the influence of alcohol to you.
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't stumbling, correct?
Nope.
She wasn't swaying.
I didn't notice.
She didn't appear to be unbalanced, correct?
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't slurring her words.
Nope.
She wasn't talking gibberish, correct?
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation and she appeared to be under control.
Yeah.
And would you agree with me that she also appeared to be affectionate with John O'Keefe?
I wasn't really watching their interactions too much, to be honest.
But in any case, you never saw any arguing between the two of them.
I wasn't really paying attention to their
And you
interactions.
You didn't perceive any tension between them, correct?
I didn't notice anything irregular.
Okay. And from your observations of Karen Reed that night, and you were there probably over 2 hours, were you not?
Total? About that, yeah.
From your observations of Karen that night, you would have had no problem with her driving a car, correct?
Speculate.
I wouldn't even have thought about it.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that of the group that you had met out, that you were the last person to leave the waterfall on January 29th of 2022?
I believe so.
Now, you previously, you testified on direct examination today, I believe, that you thought you got home between 12:05 and 12:10 a.m. on January 29th, correct?
It's what I remember.
If I suggested to you that you didn't even leave the bar until 12:13 a.m., would you quarrel with that?
Would I quarrel with it?
Yes.
No, I guess not. I mean,
And is your memory exhausted as to the precise time that you left the bar?
is it exhausted?
Right. In other words, do you not remember the precise time that you left the bar that early morning?
It's over 2 years ago. I don't know the precise time.
Right.
That's why I said between 12:05 and 12:10.
That answers my question. Thank you. Could we have Exhibit 53? Well, with the court's permission, can I publish Exhibit 53? It's a short clip from the waterfall. Sure.
I just want to know, did he drink a whiskey drink? Did he drink a vodka drink? Did he drink a lager drink? Did he drink a cider drink? Well, that's some pretty impressive video there. There you go. back to this.
I think we need to back it up. It's started.
If you remember what time you left the bar, you're doing it wrong. John O'Keefe got knocked down, but he didn't get up again. Just too soon. Sorry. Strike that last question. Strike that last answer. Shame on me for that. That was terrible.
If we could pause it for a second, please. Mr. Albert, you would agree with me, this was clearly the end of the night?
Sure.
The lights are all on at this point.
Yes.
The bar appears to have largely emptied out.
Yes.
Okay, continue, please.
Gigi with a famous, fantastic John Lee Hooker reference, but most people know the song from George Thorogood, but it's actually a John Lee Hooker song.
Oh, there we go. My co-counsel is much better at this than I. Do you know who that person is who's leaving the bar at this point at 12:13 and 43 a.m.?
It might be better without that spotlight.
Okay.
See it now?
That's fine.
Yeah. I believe it's me.
It's a ghost.
Continue, please.
Look, he said he left the bar around somewhere around 12:10.
You can take that
It's
off.
only 3 minutes difference. Why are we making a big deal?
So, having now viewed that video with the timestamp of 12:13 and about 43 seconds or so, does that refresh your memory as to when you left the waterfall?
Yes.
That would mean it would have been impossible for you to get home to Maple Street by 12:05 or 12:10, correct?
Correct.
Now, it was about maybe a 7-minute walk home. Would you agree with me?
From Waterfall to Maple? No, I said 7 minutes from D&E to Waterfall. Waterfall to Maple is probably less than 5 minutes.
So it's your testimony that D&E is closer to the waterfall than the waterfall is to Maple Street?
D&E's farther away from Waterfall than farther away from where I live than Waterfall is.
I understand.
Oh, I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
I'll try to clarify. I
Okay.
don't mean to be confusing here.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm not asking about the distance between D&E and your home. I'm trying to compare or ask you to compare the distance between D&E and the waterfall, and then the waterfall. Do you see the difference?
I think so.
Would you agree with me that your home is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is from the waterfall?
I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's take it step by step. D&E Pizza to the waterfall, are they on the same street?
Yes.
How many establishments, if you know, are between D&E Pizza and the waterfall?
Just a few.
Okay, so it's a very short walk from
Yes.
D&E Pizza to the waterfall.
Yes.
Correct? Your home on Maple Street is not on the same street as the waterfall, correct?
It's off of the same street.
But it's not on the same street.
No.
And your home on Maple Street is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is to the waterfall. Is it
Correct.
not?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't understand it earlier.
No, I know it. I'm trying to work through
The
this
defense
because
is getting
I'm not
played
trying
by
to
this
trick you
witness.
here. I just want to get the answer.
He's tricking you.
So
He's
you would
tricking.
agree with me
He's tricking you,
that it would
Yannetti.
take you
He
longer
understood
to
it. He's
walk
just fucking
home
with you.
from the waterfall than it would take you to walk to the waterfall from D&E Pizza.
Correct.
All right. And I believe you said that one walk was 7 minutes and one walk was maybe less than 5 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. The 7-minute walk would have been the walk home as opposed to the walk to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you have agreed that you left the bar at 12:13, almost 12:14, according to the video, and it would have taken you about 7 minutes to walk home, correct?
Not exactly sure how. I
Can I
think
see Councilor Tyrell?
All right. She's gonna tell him to move it along, and I think rightfully so. I think that's she's gonna tell the defense move it along. But on your bingo card, check off judge calls for sidebar. For those of you playing at home and have downloaded your bingo card from the pinned chat, we've got who, if anyone, sort of, judge calls for sidebar, what, if any, lawyer calls for sidebar, and heavy Boston accent. Those are what we've got so far. So mark those off on your bingo card. Let's see how we're doing over here. We are at 75,701 subscribers. We've lost 2 since the start of the show. We currently have watching us here 483 people. Thank you so much, you 483 people, for being here. I would just ask you to do me a small little favor. Hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. It'll give me all sorts of warm, fuzzy feelings as we begin our march from 75,700 to 75,800. We're 99 away. Let's see how close we can get tonight. Do me that favor, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, just double check to make sure you are still subscribed. And how are we doing on our poll? The poll remains essentially the same as it was. What will today's what, if any, tally be for the prosecution? The defense has used it once today. 0 to 25, 6% of you say 0 to 25. 30% of you say both 51 to 75 times and 75 to 100. And 33% of you say 26 to 50.
Thank you.
Oh, and body on the lawn. Yes, right.
It's been
Thank you so
pointed
much.
out to me that I think we're not making the connection here, and I think it might be my fault. With regard to the timing of how long it took you to go home, I believe your best estimate is about 5 minutes. Is that your testimony? And when I say home, I'm not talking about from D&E Pizza. I'm talking about that early morning when you're at the waterfall.
I understand. Yeah. I'd say around 5 minutes, I think, from the waterfall to Maple Street.
Fair enough. So now if you're leaving the bar at like close to, 12:14, as indicated on the video, you're getting home somewhere around 12:19, 12:20, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And what were you wearing that night?
I'll see.
Blue jeans, sneakers, I think, and a sweatshirt.
Okay. And it had started to snow by that point.
A little bit.
So the ground was a little bit either slushy or wet.
Not slushy, but could have been wet.
Could have been wet. And the snow had not yet started to accumulate, or had it?
It didn't start. No.
All right. So you're walking home, but it was cold, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that in the best case scenario, you might have had a little bit more clothing on for that cold walk home?
I think I had a sweatshirt on.
Right, but you could have used something else, right?
Oh, probably.
In light of the weather?
Probably.
All right, because you testified that by the time you got home, you were pretty cold, right?
Correct.
You hadn't, if it had been about a 5-minute walk, that was enough time for you to walk in almost shivering, correct?
Sure.
And given that there was precipitation, the snow had started, the sweatshirt would absorb the moisture as opposed to repel it, correct?
Sure.
And so you were wet as well when you walked in, right?
Sure.
And by that point in time, you were tired, correct?
I don't remember if I was tired, but
Okay.
I don't remember if I was tired at that point.
Okay. You had worked all day?
Correct.
Till late in the day, actually into the evening, correct?
Correct.
Taking pizzas in and out of a hot oven,
Correct.
as well as other food that you serve as well, correct?
Yep.
And you're now, and by the way, you'd had a couple of drinks or a few drinks, whatever it was, at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
And you decided not to go to your brother Brian Albert's house, correct?
Correct.
That was in part because you weren't up for the continued partying at that point, correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to go home.
Right. And so when you got home, would you agree with me that your first priority would have been
Congratulations, Wicked Wookie.
getting out of the wet clothes that you were in?
Correct.
And where would you have done that within your
In
home?
my bedroom.
And is this a townhouse? Or is it a freestanding residence?
It's a condominium.
Condominium? How many floors?
There's 3 floors.
And your bedroom's on the top floor?
Correct.
And the entrance is ground level?
Correct.
When you first entered the home in those wet clothes, where was your wife, Julie?
Upstairs in the bedroom.
And was she already washed up and ready for bed?
She was lying in bed.
No, continue going. Continue
And
going.
where did you go when you walked in the ground level?
I went up to the bedroom,
All right,
took off my clothes, jumped in bed.
all right. Do you have a master bath with regard to your bedroom?
There's a bathroom, yeah.
All right. That would have been where you brushed your teeth
Yeah.
and washed up?
But I did, that's where I would do those things, but I didn't do them.
You
those
didn't do
things.
either of those?
No.
Okay. Did you grab a drink of water before you went to bed?
Nope.
All right, so you essentially came home, and I think we agreed it was around 12:20 or so, give or take a minute,
Roughly.
and you made a beeline for your bedroom.
Correct.
Did you fall asleep shortly thereafter?
Soon after,
Within 5 minutes or so? 10 minutes?
I started to doze off. I don't know exactly how soon after I fell asleep.
All right. Sometime within 5 or 10 minutes, would you say?
I would say more like within 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. So with regard to getting home, and we'll call it 12:19, because I think that's more consistent with what you said, and understanding that it's just an estimate. If you're walking in the door at 12:19, it takes you maybe a minute to get upstairs.
About a minute.
You kicked off your sneakers downstairs, I imagine?
Maybe. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Okay, and then you walked up 2 flights of stairs, right?
Probably ran up the stairs because I was cold.
Okay, all right. So you're getting up there around 12:20 or so, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And you believe that you dozed off about 15 minutes later, which would have made it about 12:35?
Somewhere around there.
Now, when you came home, you would agree with me that your son, Colin Albert, was not home, correct?
Not when I first got home.
And in fact, I think your testimony was that 10 minutes after you got home, he opened the bedroom door?
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Do you want to stick with that?
I'm just trying to recollect what I, thinking it over. So obviously it was a little bit longer.
Because you actually woke up when he opened the bedroom door, correct?
What?
I don't think so.
Did you not just testify before this jury just, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, that you fell asleep and that your son Colin opened the bedroom door and woke you up to say goodnight?
Yeah, I guess that's what I said.
Okay. And when you testified to that on direct examination, that was when Mr. Lally was asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And you knew that you were under oath at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you were trying to be as accurate as possible, correct?
Trying to be correct.
All right. So in terms of the timing of this, assuming that he opened the bedroom door after you already fell asleep, if you're getting home upstairs to your bedroom around 12:20 and it takes you 15 minutes to go to bed, and that's around 12:35, then sometime after you're asleep, after 12:35, that's when Colin opens the bedroom door, correct?
I don't remember exactly.
Well, it's difficult for you to remember how long you'd been asleep for when Colin opened the bedroom door, correct?
Correct.
You don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Right. But it was some time after you fell asleep.
To the best of my recollection.
Now, with regard to your son, Colin, he obviously lived in the same neighborhood as John O'Keefe because that's where your family lives, correct?
Correct.
And back in 2022, Colin Albert was 17 years old.
Correct. Part of the year.
And you knew that, like most teenagers, Colin drank alcohol with his buddies, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain for the jury who or what is Nebercracker?
What is Nebercracker?
Yes,
Like the character?
that's what I'm asking.
It's a character in a cartoon called Monster House.
And would you agree with me that Nebercracker in the movie Monster House was this kind of old curmudgeon who didn't want anybody on his lawn, correct?
The character, yes.
He was the get off my lawn guy, correct?
In the movie, yeah.
What was your nickname and your wife Julie's nickname for John O'Keefe?
Mr. Nebercracker.
All right. And your wife Julie actually had John O'Keefe plugged into his contacts as Nebercracker, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were there one time when Julie showed Karen Reed, her phone to show how John O'Keefe was plugged in as Nebercracker, correct?
I believe so.
And this whole nickname started because of a conflict that Colin Albert had with John O'Keefe.
Not correct.
John O'Keefe complained to you about things that Colin was doing.
Not correct.
He would tell you that Colin used to throw beer cans or beer bottles in his bushes, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
So you can answer that. What's your answer?
That is not correct.
John O'Keefe told you that Colin used to flip him off, correct?
Not correct.
And say F you to him.
Never.
Colin used to cut through his yard.
Nope, that was Dylan.
You knew that John didn't like people cutting through his yard, correct?
No, I don't know that to be true.
Okay. So is it your testimony that John O'Keefe invited kids to cut through his lawn all the time?
I don't understand. Is that a question?
It was a question. I guess let me withdraw that and ask this. If John O'Keefe is Nebercracker, and he's the get off your lawn guy, are you denying that he doesn't like people cutting through his lawn?
Do you want me to, can I explain?
I just asked for an answer to my question. Mr. Lally will get up after I'm done, and I'm sure you can explain whatever you want.
So no, he's not no.
All right. Well, you would agree with me that there was a time when John O'Keefe was not home that you and your wife Julie went to his house
That is correct.
and you entered onto his property, correct?
On his front property, yes.
And you had drinks in your hand.
Correct.
And you thought it would be funny to have a photo taken of you and your wife with drinks in your hand on his property, correct?
Correct.
And you knew it would be funny because you knew it would annoy him, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, you can go ahead. Can you answer that?
Yeah, he was actually asking us to watch his house while he was away.
Right, but that doesn't answer my question, which was he didn't ask you to go onto his property with drinks in your hand and take a photo, correct?
He asked us to watch his property.
Okay, but again, in answer to my question, the answer is no, he did not ask us to go on his property and take pictures of ourselves with drinks in our hand, correct?
Yeah, he didn't ask me to send him a photo.
And you would agree with me that Nevercracker wouldn't like a photo of somebody on his lawn with drinks in their hands, correct?
The cartoon character, Nevercracker?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, next question, please,
Yes.
Ms. Giannetti.
Oh, man. I gotta say,
Yes.
I think the defense witness is winning the jury between him and him. I mean, the witness and the defense lawyer, as far as they're both concerned,
Mr. Albert,
I
I
think the
placed
jury is going for the
Two
witness.
photographs before you. If you could take a look at those and
He's
tell
got
the
to go
jury if you
somewhere
recognize
quick.
what they depict.
I do.
What do those photos depict?
It's me and my wife straddling John's fence. We're giving a thumbs up in one of them and a smile in another one.
Okay. And you say John's fence, so that's actually on John's property, correct?
Part of it is, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the easement is from the street to the fence as ownership goes, but yeah.
All right.
I know the town owns a certain portion of it.
Would you agree with me that that photo was taken in April of 2021?
I'm not sure when it was taken, but if that's what you have for a date, then it's fine.
Okay. Who took that picture?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Where was your son Colin that night when you had that picture
I
taken?
have no idea.
Would you agree with me that you texted those photos or somebody texted those photos, whether it was you or your wife Julie, to John O'Keefe?
Absolutely.
And offer those a fair and accurate representation of the photos that you took?
Yeah.
All right. I would offer those, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
And with the court's permission, may they be published for the jury?
Okay.
With regard to that first photo, is that, well, first of all, whose house is that in the background?
That's John's.
And that is you on the right and your wife Julie on the left?
Correct.
You have the second photo, please.
So who's taking the picture?
Okay. That is also John's house in the background there.
Correct.
And again, that's you on the right and Julie on the left, correct?
Correct.
We can take that photo now. Now, would you agree with me that those photos give some context to the text that you sent him on January 28th when you were trying to get him to come out and you threatened to, quote, fuck up his lawn if he didn't come out that night?
What do you mean give context to?
Well, in other words, here you are texting him photos of you and your wife on his lawn, correct?
Yes.
And that's a common theme that explains the January 28th text where you were threatening to fuck up his lawn, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay. I just have one more area that I want to cover with you, sir. You previously confirmed that when you walked in your door on January 29th of 2022 after coming home from the waterfall, your son Colin was not home, correct?
It's correct.
At that time, you had no personal knowledge of where he had been that night, correct?
That's correct.
Since that time, you know that he was at your brother Brian's house that night, Brian Albert.
It's correct.
Your old home, correct?
Where I grew up, yep.
And you knew that address to be 34 Fairview Road.
Correct.
And you knew that that was the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead later that morning, correct?
Correct.
I may have a moment.
Sure.
Well, for everybody that was waiting him to establish some sort of timeline and wrap it up with like a knockout punch, wasn't there.
Just one other question.
Sure.
When you spoke to Trooper Proctor on February 10th of 2022, you would agree with me that you never mentioned that Colin Albert was at your brother Brian's house that night, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh,
I don't remember.
right. Thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Albert, you were asked some questions about being a selectman. Were you a selectman at the time on January 28th, 2022?
No.
About how long after that was it that you came?
Sometime in April that the election was over. April, second week in April, maybe?
So that photograph that you were shown with respect to yourself and the former Chief Berkowitz of the Canton Police, when was that?
It was a fundraiser, so it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks before the election. So January, February, March something, end of March maybe?
Well after January 28th, 2022.
Yes.
And you were asked some questions about your brother selling the house. Now, prior to your brother selling the house, you had sold your house, correct?
Correct.
And why was that?
Why was that? It just made more, it made sense for us. You know, it was just a financial decision.
Kids were getting older, is that correct?
Yeah,
One was in the Navy.
Yep.
Another was about to go to college.
correct.
And what, if any, relation did that have to your brother selling the house?
So once he found out that I was selling my,
Objection.
No, I'm going on.
once he found out I was selling my house, he decided that it might be a good idea for him to sell his house. His kids were getting older. So I gave him my real estate's number, the guy who sold my house.
And that selling of the house, was that something that you would discuss with your brother prior to January 28th, 2022?
Yeah, soon after.
Let's move on from that.
Now, with regards, to your son Colin when he came home that night, you indicated that it was about 10 minutes after. Now, was that 10 minutes after you arrived home or 10 minutes after you got into bed?
10 minutes after I jumped into bed.
Now, with reference to your son Colin, he came home, you saw him that night, correct?
When he came home?
Yes.
Yeah, he just leaned his head in the door.
And when he leaned his head in the door, did you, similar to what I had asked you about Mr. O'Keefe, did you observe any sort of injuries or anything like that to his face?
No.
Saw your son the next day as well?
Yes.
Did you observe any injuries to him at any point in
None.
time? And you mentioned that you went over to your brother Brian Albert's house and both he and Mr. Higgins were there, correct?
Correct.
As far as your interactions with both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins that following day, what, if any, injuries did you observe on them that night?
None.
Now, with regard to the Nevercracker, what was sort of the origination of that?
It's a joke. It's so my son Dylan, who is my littlest one, he was cutting across John's lawn one day, coming home from the school, walking. This was before John had a fence that went this way, like on Pleasant Street. So it would just cut off like a couple of minutes. He ran across John's lawn one day. This is my littlest son, who I don't even know at the time. He might have been like 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly how old he was. And John yelled something to him. "Hey, kid, get off my lawn." So John was just making a joke. So Dylan got scared. He ran home and told my wife, Julie, and then Julie in turn called, called Jen maybe and said, "Hey, John just yelled at Dylan." And I think Jen reached out to John and John felt terrible. And John came down the street. John asked what kind of candy Dylan liked. And John brought Dylan a bag of candy and just said, "Hey, I was just kidding. It was just, so from that point on, we called him Mr. Nevercracker, and it was a joke between John. John thought it was funny. And
Now, as far as those photographs that you indicated that you took on his fence,
Yeah.
sent to him when he was away, is that correct?
correct.
That was after he'd asked you to watch his house
Yeah.
while he was away?
Yeah.
And how did he respond to those photographs?
He thought it was hilarious. We actually showed him, other people that photo too. They thought it was funny.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up, Mr. Allen.
One last question, Norm. So after you sent the text message as far as to come over here and then made the reference to his lawn, Mr. O'Keefe then came over to the lawn.
Yeah, he came over after.
Nothing further. Nothing
Quick
further.
reject. All right, you are all set, Mr. Albert. And
Thank you.
Jurors, we're going to take a recess. It's not going to be sitting there like the jurors. It's not going to be too long, because I'm going to end around 12.
If the witness would just stay where you
Yeah,
are.
please
Thank you.
stay.
Sorry,
So,
sorry.
That's okay. So-
Jurors, if you'd fold your notebooks, please do on your chairs. Follow me. All right, here we go.
So call about a 10-minute
You are
break, 'cause
muted.
I want to get more testimony.
All right. Well, they want a 10-minute break. Hey, everyone, check off Sealing Dion on your bingo card. That's
Hey there,
no,
Karen
we
Reed,
don't care
trial
about you.
watch.
Sorry, we don't want to hear from you. Let's switch this around. So check off Sealing Dion on your bingo card, everybody, because that's what we named the ceiling fan. She said they were going to wrap up around 12:30. So that's about 90 minutes from now, 84 minutes from now. So take a 10-minute break. That'll give us a good hour and few minutes for the next witnesses. The defense did two things. First of all, I think the defense ruined our chances at maximum number of what if any's, because he went on for a very long time. We've got 27 what if any's out of one witness. If we would have had more witnesses, we would have got more, I'm sure. You probably heard the dog chewing on a bone back here behind me. Sorry about that. I don't think the prosecution scored any points with that witness. Again, he testified that there was no problems, no arguments. Everything was normal between John and Karen. But I don't think the defense scored any points either. Angie Hammond with a $5 super chat says, I think he's trying to nail a timeline, which is important. I thought he was trying to nail a timeline too, but he didn't nail it down really to anything important. Everything was within. I mean, they fought for what, 5-6 minutes or more about whether he left the bar at 12:10 or 12:13, and there's only a 3-minute difference. And whether it's 5 minutes to walk home or 7 minutes, that's 2 minutes. And look, I would be much more suspicious of his testimony if he gave precise times. I left the bar at 12:11 a.m. It took me 6.5 minutes to walk home. I was in bed for 7 minutes when my son came in the house. I would be much more suspicious of that testimony than, I don't know, sometime between 12:05 and 12:10 I left the bar. It takes 7 minutes to get home. Whatever he was trying to do, I don't think he did it. I think that was a bit of a swing and a miss, especially when we got into all this Nevercracker shit. I haven't seen. I think I saw Monster House, like the movie, like once when it came out with my son, but that was pointless, I thought, because the defense, the prosecution very, very easily explained it all away. It was a joke because of this incident. And he thought it was funny, and then we thought it's just a running gag to take pictures. He's not upset by us standing on his lawn. It's just a running gag, and that diffused everything, in my point of view. Adara the Wholesome with the $2. Moody Attitudey Judy on the stand. Not good look. See, again, I'm of two minds on that. One, he did seem he was playing dumb, but on the other hand, the defense lawyer, Yannetti, bought into it and spent so much time re-asking the questions and making it look like it was his fault instead of somehow conveying to the jury, look, come on, you're just playing dumb now. He tried to do that once and got objected because it was argumentative. But let's see what you guys think. Nick Starro, member for 6 months. What's up, Nick? Nick Starro, theory, house that has been considered as a possible crime scene must be disclosed at a sale, which lowers the price. Agent Cop decided to help out. Oh, no. Is Massachusetts one of those states where you're required to disclose whether or not your house is haunted? I know there's a couple of states that require you to, if your house is haunted, to disclose that. I think whatever was, this is just me thinking out loud and processing this out, because I don't know, like Flux said just a minute ago, I don't know what to make out of it. Well, yeah, I don't know what to make out of it. But I think there was some points in there, but oh wait, we're paused over here. I think
you know what a lot of the
hush. I think there were some points to be made, and I think there may have been some points made, but I got lost in the sea of everything else that was happening. I personally myself did not like that cross-examination. That was far and away my least favorite cross-examination of the entire trial. A DCV Titan, thank you so much for the Canadian $5. I think it's interesting the son was at the house. Did he witness the victim's arrival at the house? Think he was trying to get timeline for that. If he was, he didn't get it in my book. But I mean, hit on the important parts. Colin was there because that was one of the points he made 2 days ago, I believe, was that nobody in all this deal, the police report, everybody's name was spelled out on the people in the people that were on location. Everybody's name was spelled out first and last, except for Brian's. The list of everybody that was included, everybody that was in the house, but Colin's name wasn't there. Things like that. Things like that could be pointed out and harped on, but I think everything just kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think South Carolina and Alaska are the only two. There's got to be somewhere else, but maybe I'm wrong. Hope my next house is haunted. Well, come on, guys. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think here. If only Nick's theory had a bearing on what happens in reality, but thanks for a great stream. Well, thank you, Edward M. Lockwood, for being a member for 19 months. One of the original OGs. Was John just trying to write his name in this? No, that's mean. Stop. The witness was acting like a dumbass, or it would have been better cross. See, I don't know the mindset in that area, in the Canton, Boston area. Would the average Joe, the average juror, just normal random people in that area think, yeah, if I was being asked those questions, I would answer that way too. I would be snarky with him for asking some of these dumb questions. Or would the locals tend to be more, this guy's an idiot. This guy's a dick for answering the questions that way. I don't know how people would react to that line of questioning in the area. That's just a little point of curiosity I have. What if you don't believe in ghosts? Well, then you don't have to disclose it. Boston already has a distrust of cops. Fair enough. California, Alaska, and South Dakota require that you must disclose if an unnatural, untimely death has occurred in the house within the past 3 years. Interesting. But there are some places that literally require you, if you believe your house to be haunted, to disclose it. So if anybody live in that area, I know some of you live in that area or from that area. If you just kind of put in there what you think is going on. as far as what the jury would be thinking about that. Because I didn't think that was a great cross-examination. Well, for those of you that are keeping track at home, let's check out our bingo card right now. Here, the bingo card can be generated by clicking on the link in the that's pinned in the chat. You have your free space, of course, and we have who, if anyone, mark off body on the front lawn, sort of, ceiling Dion. That's the ceiling fan. Judge calls for a sidebar. What, if any? Lawyer calls for sidebar, and heavy Boston accent. Those. It's a rough bingo night tonight. There's not many bingo marks there. And let me just tell you, while we've got you here, while we're waiting for them to come back from break, let me give you a few little things that are coming up. Tomorrow is our F It Friday stream. We just call it F It Friday stream because it's just the one day a month where we do nothing really but grift for super chat money, and so we don't have to do it the rest of the month. We open it to a big panel of guests. Every $100 that comes in, I do a shot of whiskey. I didn't have a chance to pick which whiskey I'm going to be doing shots of tomorrow. It was a busy day at the office. I'll probably go to the bottle shop at lunch tomorrow and pick the bottle. But it needs to be in the $230, $240 range price wise, because what we do is every month we take 25% of whatever comes in from super chats during the previous F It Friday, and we put that 25% to the next bottle that we just take shots of. But the guest list, here's the guest list for the people that are going to be on tomorrow. We're going to start at the same time. We won't be covering the Karen Reed trial live. It's a little bit of a palate cleanser. We will be having as panelists, the people that have said they will be there so far is potentially criminal Sean, law of self-defense, Andrew Branca, Danny on direct, Ozzy Overlord, Surly Durley, Moxie Dame Jess, Ari Jacob, Ian Runkle from Runkle of the Bailey, the following Pro Joe from Good Logic, Nicholas Starro will be there, Kaiser Pineapple, MG Law, Meme Copium, Josh from Japan, Paralegal Liz, and Maud Danielle. Now, the maybes, the people that said they maybe will show up if they can, Megan Fox, DUI guy, and Chandler Remington may be here. They're actually going to be attending the the Karen Reed trial tomorrow. And they said that in the break, they would come out and say hi if they get a chance. Lady Law 5791 and Anna, that Star Wars girl, have said they may be there. Steph, the Ultra Nerd, has not yet replied to my messages, so I don't know if she's seen it yet or not. But no reply from Steph yet. Dave Neal would have joined, but Dave Neal just gave Dave Neal's wife just gave birth to their baby yesterday, so he's out of commission for the next 20 years. So that's what's coming up tomorrow. It's a lot of fun. Just come and hang out and throw a super chat money at and whatever. We'll start at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. Eastern. We're going to start at 8 a.m. Eastern, and we're just going to go until my liver gives out or super chat stop coming in. It's just a fun thing. All righty. We should be getting ready to go here in the next few minutes, and I hope so, because I need to take a step out of the room, if you know what I mean, which I just may have to do anyway. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do that. Let me find something here to put on while I rush down the hallway and rush back. What should we put on? We need something long. All right, we'll just put on Grounds. I'll be right back. Nobody go anywhere. We're not leaving. This is just a break. Hang tight, everyone. Give me a minute or so, and I shall return. Where are we? Be right back.
Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery, potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land. I'm from the Mauryan Empire or whatever. Bitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every sovereign citizen.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. Did you miss me? This is why it's nice to have guests on for things like this, so you can disappear and it's not obvious. You just got to go to the bathroom. So, all right, they need to hurry and come back. We've lost like 50 people since they went on break. Come on back, Court. You're cramping my style here. Yeah. Joe Choi says that was fast. Yeah, I just kind of run down, take care of business, and run on back. I don't have a wife to say hi to. I don't have anything like that would make me take a substantial amount of time. I just run in, do my stuff, and come out. Jeff needs a comfort break. I just had to go take a leak. That's we don't use them fancy socially acceptable terms where I come from. A leak is a leak. All right, enough of that weirdness. You weren't gone long enough. Yeah, I was. I actually ran down the hall and then ran back. Can you update the bingo card? I just did that, but I'll do it again because hey, what else are we going to do while we wait for Court to come back? Court should be back in the next few minutes, but the bingo card, here's the boxes we should have checked off so far. Who, if anyone? Body on the front lawn? Sort of. What, if any? Ceiling Dion, ceiling fan. Judge calls for sidebar. Lawyer calls for sidebar. And heavy Boston accent. And the free space. Weirdly, I'm not close to bingo on anything. Just about every line has 2 blank spots. No matter how you slice this thing, most lines come up with 2 missing items. No, that would be extreme. Yeah, we don't do that. Yeah, no, that would just be icky. And I would just do that on stream and you'd never know anyway. Bingo, you got a bingo. Now don't clear your board because we go for the blackout here. We go for the full on, we go for like just the one line bingos. We go for the 4 corners. We go for the whole blackout thing or full houses, I believe some people call it. So that's it. Do not restart your bingo cards. And I think we're still at 27 on the what if any cards. Yep, we're still at 27 on the what if any's. Or you can be a big fat cheater like been there, done that, and reset your card until you get a bingo. Cheater. Jeff would spill that cup if I am clumsy. I am clumsy. What's up with a half-day court with this judge? It's built into the schedule. For whatever reason, the court schedule only allows her to have half days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are full days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are half days. And it's not uncommon for courts to take 1 day a week off, like Fridays is no trial day. So this is essentially taking a day off, but splitting it up into 2 days. And it's already figured into the 6 to 8 week time frame. It's not like she's just randomly doing this occasionally. It's scheduled in every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, so now I've expounded upon what I thought of the defense's cross-examination there. Holy shit. That has been paused. Okay, we're still not back though. Whew, that was good. All right. I thought, oh my God, the court's probably been back forever. What do you guys think about the cross-examination? Come on, tell me what you guys think. There is no Clenny or Boone update to give. I think it's time for me to talk about something we haven't talked about for a while here. Dragon's Treasure Tea. thedragonstreasure.com. If you like tea and if you like especially hand blended craft teas, Dragon's Treasure is the place to go. He has over 60 teas every month, different blends, different teas. No matter, even if you don't like teas, I know a lot of people said they don't like tea. They've gone to the Dragon's Treasure and now they love tea. Steph, the Ultra Nerd, is one of those people. I talked her into getting some tea from him, from the tea man, and then she eventually created a segment of her show, basically tea time, where they drink tea together and talk. Other people have done it as well. He has up to 60 different teas every month. Now he's doing soap. There's coffee. So go check him out, thedragonstreasure.com, and use code VICES. If you use code VICES, you get 10% off, 10 or 15. I can't remember if it's 10 or 15% off. I think it might be. It's either 10 or 15% off. And I get a 5% kickback on that. So there you go. Go to thedragonstreasure.com, use code VICES, and tell me what percentage discount you get. Because I can't remember what percentage you guys get. But I know I get a 5% kickback. So he gets a sale, you get a discount, and I get a kickback on it. And that's a win-win-win situation. All right, there we go. Haven't talked about the Dragon's Treasure in a while. Thought I would do that. We might have to have him on Effing Friday too. All right, Court. We're getting a little long in the tooth here on your 10-minute break. Joe Choi, join the crowd. Okay, Alan Walsh says the cross-examination dragged on a bit. Absolutely. Cross was painful, says Natasha. Oh, I don't know if I would go as far as to say it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It just went on a little long. Cross was amazing, way better than direct. I don't think I'd go as far as say amazing. Tammy didn't like the cross. Lady Tammy didn't like the cross X. Huh. Did you rest your cam? Your face is closer. No, I'm just kind of leaning forward. I can sit back here more comfortable. I'm just leaning on my desk here. That's all. Nothing big, nothing nefarious, just leaning on my desk. DCV Titans says you need to get a deal with Kanojo Toys. Huh. I have like a okay. I have a voice activated robot vacuum. And it started talking. It said it didn't recognize the voice command. Please speak clearly or ask for a menu of commands. So it heard something in the other room, and I got two dogs right here. So that was kind of weird. All right, whatever. That was strange. Kanojo Toys. Am I going to regret Googling this? Kanojo Toys. Am I going to regret this? Yep. Should have been. Do not Google. I should have known the word toys in there. That's the operative word, I guess. And well, let's take that off there. Thank you very much. The ghost is appalled by the state of your floors. Could be because just now it's coming into summer, and so the dogs are in the middle of shedding all of their winter hair all over my floor. I don't know how they have any hair left. I literally sweep or vacuum up about 2 dogs worth of hair every day. It's possibly heard the silent call of Cthulhu. Yeah, that could be. Dang it. Come on, peeps. The court, she's a stickler for a lot of things, but not for keeping time on breaks and lunches. I have noticed that. Well, shit. Laura Cole seems to be a bit behind us in time, saying he just said the opposite about 10 minutes later. He's hiding something. Flux says she just doesn't know what to make of Cross. Cross was weak, says Rare in the history. It was clear he had a direction, but didn't really, excuse me. That's how I feel. I think he was trying to go somewhere, but it's sort of like he got cut off at the pass. And I don't know. Witness did seem squirrely at points, but redirect kind of negated that for once. I thought the redirect was perfect. Get in, ask a few clarifying questions, and be done with it. All right, I'm going to, oh, here we go. Judge is back. Fine a frickin' Lee. Righty, let's go here. All right, let me unmute her.
Thank you. Please be seated. Close back.
All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
May we approach before the next witness is called, Your Honor?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay.
See, they were gone a long time. The judge could have come back a few minutes earlier. They could have had the discussion before the jury got in there. This is a waste of time. And I think it was the prosecutor that called for the sidebar. So again, the jury's going to go, come the hell on. We just took a really long break. Now we sit down and now you want to do this. It's not good for the jury to be able to pinpoint who's wasting their time.
All right, so Mr. Lally, who's your next witness?
We'll call Miss Julie Albert to the stand.
Okay.
Julie Albert, I'm assuming that's his wife.
Please make that. Mention it again. You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now inherent should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Prosecutor, do you promise to use at least 75 what if any's?
Right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Julie Albert, Albert.
And where do you live now?
I live at 22
She's chewing
Maple Street
gum.
in
Swallow
Canton.
the fucking gum, you degenerate.
And how long have you lived with you?
A little over 2 years.
Judge,
And, how
tell
long
her to
total
stop
have you lived?
smacking that gum.
My whole life. 48 years.
And where did you live just prior to living on Maple?
I lived at 7 Meadows Avenue in Canton.
And how long a period of time did you live at 7 Meadows Ave?
15 plus 20 years, about 20 years.
And
Yes, this is a strong
Yes, I
accent.
have 3 boys.
and are you married?
Yes, I am.
What's your husband's name?
Christopher Albert.
And your 3 boys, how old are they?
My oldest, Christopher, is 25. My second son, Colin, is 20. And my youngest son, Dylan, is 16.
And do each of them, where do they live? Do they live with you?
They all live with me. Yes.
Damn, she's
And
Yelling.
your husband, does he work?
Yes.
What does he do?
He owns a restaurant in Canton.
What's the name of the restaurant?
D&E Pizza,
And where is that located?
618 Washington Street.
she looks like
Now,
Fred
when you
Gwynn
lived on
after
Meadows Avenue,
transitioning.
Describe to the jury sort of,
Fred Gwynn played Herman
You know
Munster,
about
by
how
the way.
many
She looks like
houses on
Herman
that.
Munster in drag.
I would say maybe 8 on each side.
and Meadows comes out to a main road, is that correct?
Yes, Pleasant Street.
And while you were living on Meadows Avenue, did you have occasion to come to know someone by the name of John Oak?
Yes, I did.
And where did John live in relation to you?
John's house was at the top of the street, and there's 2 houses. There was 2 houses between.
He also
John's house
played
and
the
my house.
judge in My Cousin Vinny, yes.
And if you recall, about how long have you known John O'Keefe, or when did he move into Meadows?
I think he moved in 2017-ish, maybe. And I've probably known him since maybe 2019.
And how would you describe sort of your relationship with John?
We were friendly. We were neighbors. You know, I'd see him all the time coming in and out of the street, and because he's at the top of the street when I pulled out of the street, and we were friendly.
And in addition to you knowing Mr. O'Keefe, were there other sort of people that knew you that also knew him?
Yes, yes.
Who were some of those?
Well, I knew John through Jennifer McCabe.
And who is Jennifer McCabe?
She's one of my closest friends.
Now, you knew that John had 2 children that he was guardian for?
Yes,
And you were familiar with both his niece and his nephew?
yes.
Now, at some point through Mr. O'Keefe, did you come to know somebody by the name of Karen?
Yes.
When about was it that you met Ms.
Maybe in like 2021, like, you know, pulling in and out of the street if they were outside, if, you know, a couple times out socially, probably in 2021, I would say.
And if you could, just so we're clear, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom?
Yes, between her lawyers right over there.
That's a record of like identification
Okay.
by the witness. Now, on some social occasions that you were talking about, when you would see them out, would you have occasion to socially interact with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Is that something that like you and your husband did together, or was it more of a group setting type?
No, a group setting.
And with
Her
reference
voice is
to,
just
did you
piercing.
have occasions where you would socially hang out or interact with Mr. O'Keefe in which Ms. Reed wasn't there?
I can only honestly remember one time, and that was, I don't even know if they were together at the time.
And had you ever socially interacted or spent time with Ms. Reed separate and apart from Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Now, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes.
Do you recall what day of the week it was?
Friday.
And what, if anything, did you have plans for that particular evening?
The next day was my nephew's birthday.
What if Ennies
So
are
we
back
were
on the
all-
menu, boys?
A bunch of us were going to go out that night, the night before, to a bar in Canton.
By the night before, you mean the night before his birthday?
Yes.
And that nephew, what was that nephew's name?
Brian Jr.
And if you know about how old was he turning, or how, well, let me start with this. How old is he now?
He's 24.
So just turned 24 a few months ago.
January. Yep.
And so he would have been turning, what, 22 at that point?
Yes.
He was
Um,
also the next door
And when you
neighbor
say
in the
we had
original
plans
pet
to sort of
cemetery.
go out, who's
Myself, his mother, Nicole, my niece, Caitlin, and a couple of Brian's friends.
now, and you mean Brian Jr.'s friends?
Yes.
And so Brian Albert Jr. has a mother named Nicole Albert, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is she related to you?
She's my sister-in-law. Our husbands are brothers.
So your husband Christopher has a brother,
Brian.
Brian. Okay. That would be sort of
Brian Sr.
for lack
Yep.
of a better term.
Yep.
Your husband Christopher, how many siblings does he have?
6.
And Brian is the oldest?
The oldest, yes.
And so there were plans to go out that evening, the day before Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
And what were the plans? What did they sort of consist
We were just gonna go to Waterfall.
of? Is Waterfalls, where is it?
It's a bar in Canton on Washington Street.
And from your husband's pizza shop at D&E to the Waterfall, about how far away are the two from each other?
Very close. I mean, 200 steps maybe. You can, very, very close.
Same side of the street or
No,
opposite?
opposite sides.
Now, when it came to that day, where did you go? Did you go to the Waterfall first or somewhere else, or if you know?
I went to my sister-in-law Nicole's house to pick her up.
And do you know the address where your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law live?
34 Fairview, where they lived, 34 Fairview Road.
And that was somewhere that you had been numerous occasions before?
Yes.
And
I'm
when
with you,
arrived
Alan
at,
Walsh.
34 Fairview Road,
I-
went inside the house?
Watching people
think I went
chew
inside for a
gum is a
moment, yeah,
huge
just to
trigger
wait.
for me. I cannot
And do you know
watch this
if
woman
anyone
talk.
did you see in there that you knew or recognized or didn't?
I know my niece Caitlin was in there, my nephew Brian. I don't recall. I don't recall who else was in there.
Your sister-in-law, Nicole, was she there?
Yeah, she was ready to leave. Yep.
And when you left, I'm using sort of you in the plural, so you drove, is that correct?
I drove. Yep.
And who, if anyone, went along with you in your car?
Nicole, my sister-in-law, and Caitlin, my niece, and Brian did not end up coming with us.
And so your nephew Brian, for whom you had initially made the plans to go out
Yep.
to celebrate, didn't end up coming.
Correct.
And why was that?
I don't think he was feeling up to it.
And if you know about what time was it that you picked your sister-in-law and your niece up and then went to work?
I don't remember exactly, but I would probably say between maybe 7:30 and 7:30, like around 7:30 maybe.
And you arrive at the waterfall, you go in. If you could just explain for the jury sort of when you walk into the door of the waterfall, where was it that the three of you went?
When you walk into the door, there's a couple high top tables, long high top tables in front of you. And we just sat down at a high top table right when you walk through the door.
Now, from your experience either that evening or prior evenings, on certain nights, does the waterfall have any kind of sort of entertainment?
Yeah, they always have, every week's different. They have bands.
And from your recollection, was there a band there that night?
Yes, there was.
And do you recall where you were seated in relation to the band?
I was sitting at the end of the high top table closest to the door that you walk in. And the band was to the right of me against a wall and kind of like an alcove, like a little against the wall.
And when you went there, was the band already sort of set up and playing, or did that happen later?
What
I
does this
think they
matter?
set up while we were there. I think.
And so initially, when you go there, do you go there and just have drinks, or did you eat something, or what?
We ate, and yeah.
And while you were there, as far as during sort of the meal portion of it, was there anyone else that joined you?
I know my niece's boyfriend, Tristan Morris, came. I don't remember exactly when it was during that, but I know he was there. And then during the meal part, I don't think during the meal part anyone else, I don't think.
So you recall, as far as the meal part was concerned, it's you, your sister-in-law Nicole, your niece Caitlin, and her boyfriend Tristan.
Correct.
And Mr. Morris, did he stay for any extended period of time, or when was it that he left?
I know he stayed for a little bit, but I honestly can't remember what time exactly he left.
Now, your husband, was he working on that day?
Yes, he was.
And had you been in communication with him as to where you were going to be?
Yes.
And so the plan was basically for him to meet you at the waterfall when he was done with work.
Correct, yes.
And if you know about what time was it that your husband, Christopher, came over to the waterfall?
Maybe not 9:30, 10, maybe. I don't remember
want you to
exactly.
guess, just
Yeah.
you know approximate time.
Yeah.
So at some time around 9:30 or so, your husband Christopher comes over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did he do when he got
I
there?
came in, yeah.
He came in, did he get anything to eat, anything to drink?
Yeah, he probably ordered a drink and just stood by the table, I would think.
And you and the people in your group, were you drinking that night?
Yes.
What is it, do you recall specifically what you had to drink?
I think I had just a couple glasses of wine.
And your husband, do you recall specifically what he had that night?
What he would drink is Miller Lite.
And that's sort of typically what he would drink when he
Yes.
was out?
Yes.
And your sister-in-law, Nicole, do you recall what she was drinking?
I would assume White Claw. a White Claw.
And same question with regard to your niece, Kate.
Yes, probably White Claw as well.
Now, while you were there, who, if any, so after your husband came in, who, if anyone else, sort of came in and joined the group that you were with?
My brother-in-law, Brian Albert, and his friend, Brian Higgins.
And obviously, you know your brother-in-law, Brian Albert, correct? And
Is that yes?
you know.
Yes.
Thank you. You just have to answer obviously. So, did you know Mr. Higgins as well?
Yes.
And how did you know Mr. Higgins?
I just know him from being friends with my brother-in-law.
So you knew him just sort of through your brother-in-law, Brian, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Call those explosive
And,
bursts like that. Yes.
Do you know when they arrived in relation to when your husband?
Brian, it pierces my soul.
I don't recall.
At some point after, correct?
Yes.
Then after they arrived, who, if anyone else, do you recall sort of arriving and joining in your group?
Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe.
All right, we're going to check off lip smacking
And
witness on
there
our
was a
bingo card too.
couple,
She smacked enough lips.
I don't even know their name, Colitis. They arrived. I don't know their first names. And John and Karen arrived shortly after that.
And just so we can clear up people, as far as Jennifer McCabe, you've already mentioned her, and Matthew, is that her husband?
Yes.
And the other couple that you were talking about, or sort of guessing their names, have you ever met them before?
No. Nope.
Not anybody that you're particularly friends with or anything like that?
No. I know them, who they are, from seeing them maybe at a sporting event or something, but I've never been introduced to them. No.
And when you say sort of sporting events in relation to what?
If they were at like a basketball game and I was at a game, like I've just seen them around. I'm assuming probably sporting events, probably a basketball game.
And I'm sure it's pretty well understood with this. I just want to clarify. So when you say sporting events, these are kids' sporting events?
Kids sporting events, yes.
And so which kids' sporting events would you be at that you would see this couple that you didn't know? Your kids or something?
No, Jennifer McCabe's kids.
Okay. So you would go to sporting events with Jennifer McCabe's kids and see this couple?
Yes.
And if you know about how long after this Brian Albert and Mr. Higgins arrived.
Sirens outside of court. Check that off.
The McCabe's and this other couple
I don't remember exactly.
But after Mr. Albert and Mr. Higgins, correct?
Correct.
Now then, you mentioned Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came in at some point as well.
So you have
Yes.
to make sure you say yes or no, okay? And the other thing you say, I assume or I guess, don't answer. If you don't know, you don't.
And
spit
if
down
you
that.
know, about what time was it that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Well, before 11 o'clock?
Okay. And with reference to when Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, came into the waterfall, where were you in relation to sort of the high top table that you were describing?
I was at the top of the high top table closest to the door.
And when they came in, where did Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant go?
John walked in and said hello and kept on walking, I think, to the bar. And Karen came in and stopped at the table to talk for a minute.
And during the time that she stopped at the table to talk for a minute, what, if anything, did she do?
She opened her jacket and had a glass and pulled the glass out and started drinking the drink.
And as far as the drink in the glass, what, if anything, did you observe as far as color or anything like that?
Clear.
33, what if anything?
And,
We're 1/3 of the way to
The glass that she had, could you see, so the clear liquid inside it, how much of the glass was full of that?
I don't recall.
And she placed it on the table, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was your reaction to that?
I think I laughed and said, made a comment like, "You're crazy," or something, just because she walked in with the glass.
Did you know where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had been coming from prior to them getting to the waterfall?
Yes,
And where were they coming from?
CF McCarthy's.
You're familiar with that establishment?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to the waterfall?
It's maybe 200 steps right next to my husband's restaurant.
So on the same side of?
Opposite
Washington
side.
Street?
Opposite side.
On the same side of Washington Street as your husband's restaurant?
Yes.
In the same vicinity from D&E to Waterfall, CF McCarthy's
Yes.
Water?
Yes.
Now, over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to see Mr. O'Keefe? He was at a bar, he had something to drink, is that correct?
Can you repeat that?
Over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to observe what, if anything, Mr. O'Keefe was drinking?
No, I don't believe. I left very shortly after they got there.
And so you left fairly shortly after they arrived?
Yes,
And if you know, about how much time are we talking?
maybe 10, 15 minutes.
And why is it that you left?
I had a terrible migraine.
From the band being so close?
Yes,
And when you left, where did you go?
home.
And when you got home, as far as your children on that evening, who was home, who was out? If you know?
My youngest son was home.
We already counted the lip
And-
smacking.
My oldest son didn't live at home. He lived in California at the time. And my middle son was not home.
And so your oldest son, Christopher, he was in the Navy at that point?
He was in the Navy and he was stationed in San Diego, yes.
And so your middle son, Colin, he was out. Did you know where he was?
Yes, he was at, I believe, his friend Michael Leonetti's house.
And at some point, did you learn that Colin had gone from that person's house to somewhere else?
Yes,
Is this him communicating with you?
yes,
And that other place that he went to, you know where that was?
yes. My brother and sister-in-laws, Nicole and Brian Albert's house on Fairview Road.
And was that in relation to your nephew and his birthday?
Yes,
Now, while you were, if I could take it back to the waterfall just for a second. So while you were at the waterfall, obviously you see Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed come in. Do you recall what Mr. O'Keefe was wearing?
I know he had a hat on, he had jeans on, and he had something with a hood.
And from your observations, did you ever see him with like a winter coat or a jacket or anything like that?
I did not.
And with regard to the clothing that you observed him wearing, did you, what if anything did you observe as far as the condition of that clothing? And that, I mean, was it torn, was it disheveled, anything like that?
No, nothing that I remember.
And with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, as far as his appearance, what if anything did you observe about him as far as injuries or anything?
Nothing.
Now, with reference to your group as far as at the waterfall, how would you describe sort of the overall demeanor or tone of the group and what was going on there?
Just normal. I thought it was just normal. Sitting listening to a band.
So at least during the time that you were there were no sort of arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
Nope, nothing.
And specifically to Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, while you were there, during the short time that you were there, when they were there, did you observe anything as far as any arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
No, I did not.
Now, at the time, so during that time between when they arrived, you mentioned that John went up to the bar, correct?
Yes,
And where did the defendant go?
she talked to me at the top of the table for a few minutes, and then I believe she made her way down the table to either Jennifer McCabe or the couple that was at the end of the table to speak with.
And was it during that period of time that you had enough with the migraine and went home?
Yes, I left very, very shortly after that.
During the time that you were there and you were speaking with the defendant down sort of your end of the table, what, if anything, was discussed as far as sort of where to go, what to do after the water.
I do know that, I do remember, I'm sorry, that Karen had asked if we could go back to D&E, my husband's store, and make pizza, because that's something we frequently do if we're out at the end of the night, if we're hungry.
And was that something that you had discussed with Ms. Reed either on that date or on a prior day?
I believe we discussed just that we went there once, and we said next time she'll have to come with us.
And was that something that was discussed as a possibility or something that was going to happen that night?
I think right away, I just
Brian
wasn't
Albert.
gonna do that because I wasn't feeling well, and I think I might have said talk to Chris, because I wasn't gonna do it.
And is that something that she mentioned over the course of that evening, once, more than once, or something?
Just once to me.
So when you get home, at some point, the rest of your family came home at some point in the evening, correct?
Yes,
And who came home first? Your husband, Christopher, or your son, Colin?
my husband.
Do you know about what time that was?
I want to say about after 12, maybe 12:10, around there.
So sometime around 12:10?
Sometime around 12:10, yes.
And what, if anything, do you recall specifically about when your husband, Christopher, came?
He came upstairs to my room. He was shivering because it was cold out, and he immediately went to the bathroom, got undressed, and got into bed.
And your son, Colin?
Who gets undressed in the
any
bathroom?
communication with
Yes.
you over the evening?
Unless
Yes,
you're showering.
And about how long was it after your husband came home that your son called?
10 to 15 minutes.
And were you essentially waiting up for him?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Is that sort of common practice?
Yes, I do not go to bed until my kids are home.
And is there another common practice as far as when your kids come home, where do they go when they first come in?
They immediately will always come in the door, maybe grab a water out of the fridge and come upstairs and give me a kiss goodnight and tell me that they're home.
Now, did that happen on this occasion?
Yes.
And so Colin came into your room at some point?
Yep, he came right upstairs. Yes.
And when Colin came into your room and he came upstairs, did you have occasion to observe him as far as talk to him, obviously?
Yes, we talked for a minute. He asked me if I was feeling better. And yeah, we talked for a moment.
And during that conversation that you had with Colin, similar to what I had asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, injuries or anything did you observe on your son, Colin?
None.
And fair to say the next day, at some point, you talked to and had interaction with your son?
Yes.
What, if any, injuries or anything did you observe?
None. None.
So I know this is sort of hard, so wait till Mr. Lally finishes his question.
I was
before
going to
answering,
say that.
okay?
Can we just please wait till he finishes the questions
Now, after
before
your
you
son
butt
Colin
in and
came
answer?
home, and you eventually went to bed, is that right?
Yes.
And turning your attention to the next morning, the Saturday morning of the 29th, about what time was it that you woke up?
I woke up about 8-ish.
And with regard to your nephew, Brian Jr., whose birthday it was now on the 29th, what, if any, sort of tradition do you have with respect to him this birthday?
Every year on his birthday, I go to Dunkin' Donuts. I get him 6 donuts and I bring them to the house and I leave them there with a card before he gets up. So when he wakes up, they're there. I've been doing it for years.
And is that what your intention was on this morning as well?
Yes.
Is that what you did on that?
Yes.
Now, when you woke up, probably like most people, at some point did you look at your phone?
Yes.
And when you looked at the screen to your phone, what, if anything, did you see?
I had a missed call from my friend Jen McCabe.
And was there any sort of notation in regard to the missed call as to what time that missed call had come in?
It was 5:55 maybe.
So sometime earlier in the morning.
Early morning, yes.
And beyond the missed call, was there any other sort of stamp or notification on the phone as far as a voicemail, text message?
Nope. I'm sorry. No, there was not.
And Not from Ms. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And not from anybody else?
Correct.
And at any point in time on that morning over the phone, did you speak with Ms. McCabe?
No, I did not.
And did you call her? So you didn't call her back or anything like that?
I did not.
And so after you wake up, at some point you go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the 6 donuts?
Yes,
And where did you go with those?
I drove to 34 Fairview.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park in relation to the house?
I pulled into the driveway.
And when you came up to the house and you were driving to the house at this point, what was the weather like?
It was coming down. The snow was coming down pretty good.
And with reference to the house, what, if anything, did you notice out of the ordinary with regard to the house or the street or anything else?
Jennifer McCabe's car was in the driveway.
And as far as any other vehicles on the street or anything like that, what was going on at that time?
I don't recall. I don't.
Nothing you can recall?
No.
Oh, what time was this that you got there?
8:30, 9 o'clock, 8:30. Around that.
And when you get there, you pull in the driveway, what did you do?
I opened my car door. I got out to walk to the car in front of me to leave the donuts and card inside my nephew Brian's car. And Brian Albert came to the door. Brian Albert Sr. came to the door and he told me to come in, asked me to come in for a second. And I said that I didn't need to. And he said, I'm just leaving this gift for Brian Jr. And he said, no, just come in for a second. So I went into the house.
And when you walk into 34 Fairview Road on that morning, if anyone else was there?
Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe.
And where were they in relation to the house?
In the kitchen.
And what, if anything, did they tell you at that time?
When I first walked in, nothing. Everyone was just sitting there and I was looking around and everyone was visibly upset. And I asked what's going on. And another maybe 30 seconds went by and Jen said, something's happened to John. And I said, John, she said, John O'Keefe. And I said, is he okay?
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow it.
I said, is he okay? And she said, we don't know. And that was that.
And after hearing that information, how long were you at your brother and sister-in-law's house that night?
Probably about half hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
And where did you go from there?
I went home to wake my husband up to let him know what had happened.
And at some point after you go home and wake up your husband, where did you and your husband go?
We went back to I woke up my husband, told him what had happened, and we went back to Fairview.
And so the second time that you had gone back to Fairview, how long a period of time were you there that?
I would say probably half hour, not long.
And then after that half hour or so, where'd you go after that?
Back home to my house.
Now, during either of those occasions when you were at 34 Fairview Road on the morning of the 29th, you had occasion to talk and observe Brian Albert Sr., correct?
Yes.
And similar to questions that I asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe and your son Colin, what, if any, injuries or anything out of place did you note with respect to Brian Albert Sr.?
Nothing that I saw.
And, same question with respect to Mr. Higgins, as far as you made observations and spoke at least in the same room as him on that morning?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you observe as far as injuries or anything else on Mr. Higgins?
Nothing.
And when you woke up your husband that next morning, your other two sons, being Colin and Dylan, they were at home still?
Yes, they were at home still asleep.
And with regard to when you went to Fairview, came back with your husband, went back to Fairview, and then came back again, were they still asleep?
I don't remember.
You recall, well, let me put it this way. As far as your sons, did either of your sons come back with you to Fairview Road that day?
No, they did not.
And do you recall whether or not either Colin or Dylan was awake when you left the second time to go to Fairview?
I don't.
At some point, a few days after this, did you have occasion to meet with a couple troopers from the state police?
Yes, I did. They came to my home.
When you say they, how many of them came to you?
There were 2.
And you spoke to them that day in reference to what you had observed at the waterfall, everything you just testified?
Yes, I did.
Let him finish the
Yes.
damn question. God. What is the worst accent for women to have? I have no idea. I kind of like accents. I like all accents.
Just one last question. When you, Mrs. Albert, when you came over to Fairview Road that first time with the donuts, as far as the inside of the house, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition of the home or anything about the home that seems abnormal or out of place or off, from the evening before when you were there?
Nothing.
I have nothing further for this witness, Ryan.
Okay, Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Albert.
Good afternoon.
You and I have never met, correct?
Correct.
Chair
I
difficulties.
just wanted to pick up on a question that,
Okay,
and an answer.
we got 40
that Mr. Lally asked you
pennies,
and
but
that
I
you,
think I
responded
missed
to.
a few.
He had just asked you whether or not a few days later you spoke with a couple of state troopers. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
And your answer was yes?
Yes.
You would agree with me that it was more than just a few days later, correct?
I
It
don't
was
recall.
February 10th of 2022 that 2 state troopers came to speak with you and your husband, Chris, correct?
Correct.
And so we're talking about 13 days later, almost 2 weeks later, correct?
If that was the date, yes, correct.
Prior to February 10th, no investigator from this case bothered to talk to you or your husband, correct?
Correct.
Now, in terms of the 2 investigators who did come, you knew one of them quite well, did you not?
I knew them. I wouldn't say quite well, but I knew them.
Okay, and when you say you knew them,
Him. I'm sorry, him.
okay. And who was it?
Hey, I don't care how he identified.
Michael Proctor.
Michael Proctor was the brother of one of your close friends, correct?
Correct.
You're close friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
I am.
And by the way, your maiden name is Daniels, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you have a sister, Jill Daniels, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you would agree that Jill Daniels is also lifelong best friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Yes, she is.
And in terms of your relationship with Courtney Proctor, you socialized with her, do you not?
Objection.
Do you?
Occasionally, yes.
Go out for drinks with her, correct?
Yes.
You've attended parties with her, correct?
Yes.
You've also provided childcare for her children, correct?
Yes.
Objection. Move to strike.
All right, I'll see you on sidebar on this, Mr. Day, so everybody.
Sidebar, everybody. And there's the court clerk saying, would you please stop interrupting and let him finish the sentence? I don't know what she's calling him to the sidebar for. Perhaps telling her to move it along. I don't know, because she wants to wrap this up in about 20 minutes. Like I said, we were at 44 what if any's, but I think I missed a good chunk. I'm not sure. Masters of Criminology said, "What does John's house and picture of his brother has to do with this case?" And then he said, "I get it now. They answered my question." I don't know what I have to. They didn't answer the question for me. I don't know what John's house has to do with any of this. It's where he lived. All right. Adara the Wholesome. Does this count as lip smacking? She's annoying us. Yeah, we took care of lip smacking a long time ago. I gave her a few times and then I just couldn't have enough. Tanny Simmons. I can't say for sure, but this whole group, minus the Greeks and J and K, seem like terrible people. It's giving trash, as the kids say. Thank you, Tanny. But Tanny has also said, when Chris was testifying, I knew he didn't shower after work. He just looks like the type. All right. I've hit my super chat budget for the day, lol. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanny. Appreciate it. And DCV Titan. I was going to say, just how coached is she? She's jumping these questions like they're big, beautiful containers of questions. Alan Walsh said, nope, I would have to dig her about the chewing gum shit. She's triggering me. As I said, I cannot watch people chew gum. It annoys. I can't. But Island knows the real trigger. I drink very cold drinks all the time to keep me from chewing ice. Literally the most triggering sound on earth to me is people chewing ice. I would rather listen to 50 people scratch long metal fingernails down a chalkboard or an orchestra made entirely of people scraping forks across like China than listen to one person chewing ice. Oh God, I hate that noise. I hate it. Oh no, she is chewing gum like a cow chewing its cud in the damn pasture, Mary Jane. Ugh. All right, lengthy sidebar. Again, I think the defense wins today. Not the defense, the prosecution wins today. I think the day goes to the prosecution. Now, looking at what they've asked, they've done a good job of saying that the kid Colin Albert didn't have any injuries on his body. ATF agent Higgins didn't have any injuries on his body. So I guess showing that they weren't involved in any kind of fight inside the house. So, and they've is it weird that I want to give the prosecution the win for the day, even though that's really all they've done? I thought they'd done more, but now that I think about it, they really haven't done much more than that. Huh. Island, we might need to see that witness grimace again. Which witness grimace? All defense said Livid said meant prosecution. All prosecution have proved is people knowing what a glass looks like. Yeah, there was a little bit of testimony about the glass. All right, let's continue.
So, Ms. Albert, you provided child care for Courtney Proctor's children.
Objection.
Need a time frame, Mr.
Ever.
Have you ever provided
there you
child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Objection.
So you need a time frame.
Since they were born.
Before January of 2022.
Okay.
Did you provide childcare for Courtney Proctor's children?
Yes.
Ever. Okay.
When?
Twenty 2019.
Just that 1 year?
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. And then when COVID happened
The before
and
time.
everything shut down, I wasn't helping her any longer.
Okay.
And then occasionally after, I would help just on an as needed basis
Okay.
after COVID.
And during that year of 2019, how often did you watch her children?
2 days a week.
And she had a boy and a girl?
Correct.
What were their names?
Jack and Caroline.
And Jack and Caroline were Trooper Proctor's niece and nephew, correct?
Yes.
The Proctor family entrusted you with the care of their children, correct?
Objection.
It's sustained as asked.
You know that Michael Proctor is a state trooper, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he also was from Canton?
Yes.
You knew his wife, Elizabeth Proctor?
Yes.
And you were also aware that Courtney Proctor had recommended you to also watch Michael Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor's children, correct?
Objection. Move to strike.
That objection sustained.
But you go back a long way with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were certainly at her wedding, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son was a ring bearer at that wedding.
Objection.
All right, so we'll sustain that through this witness.
You've spent time at Michael Proctor's childhood home, have you not?
Yes.
You've been to the pool at the Proctor's house, correct?
Yes.
May we approach?
It's a pool photo. If I heard correctly, they said, "Do you have the pool photo?" I know she's lying about this. That's what I heard. I know they definitely said, "Do you have the pool photo?" I think I heard them say, "I know she's lying about this." Huh. Didn't know I'd have to be paying that close of attention. Island says, she grimaced when she answered before the objection. She'll probably do it again. She's been coached to wait for objections. Well, clearly she hasn't been. Well, yeah. On cross-examination anyway. On direct, she doesn't wait for nothing. She just spits out the answer. Yeah, we haven't had some of the usual things here. We haven't had the judge sigh on the microphone. The prosecutor hasn't given his weird like thing that he does when he gets nervous. Bad weather. Nobody's mentioned the bad weather. We've heard sort of hints that the weather was bad, but nobody's come out and said severe weather or bad weather, anything like that. And like I said, I'm still at 44. Like, what if anything? But we'll see. We'll see how this continues to develop. I think we're going to shut it down here in about the next 15 minutes or so. And while we're waiting for them to come back from the sidebar, I would just be tickled pink if you would all do me a favor and reach down there and hit the subscribe button. Or if you are subscribed, just please make sure you're still subscribed. That would be awesome. And by we, I mean me. I want to get to 75,800. We're 98 away. So it's going to take a little bit of numbering, but please, let's do it. That'll be fun. DCV Titan, probably the only time she spits. Wish you'd spit out the gum.
How many times have you been to the Proctor's pool?
Say maybe a dozen.
And you've certainly taken your children there as well?
Yes.
Colin has been to the Proctor's pool?
Yes.
And you've seen Michael Proctor's mother and father at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You've seen Courtney Proctor and her husband at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You are very close with Courtney Proctor, correct?
How would you define very?
Well, I guess I'd ask you to define very close. Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No,
Objection, Your Honor.
No, go ahead. Next question. You got your answer.
I didn't hear the answer.
Go ahead. Repeat that.
Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
no.
Okay. You talked regularly.
And
correct?
we've reached that time of day. Thank you so much,
Yes.
everybody, for
Text
the
each other,
generosity.
Yes.
You also talk by phone.
Very rarely.
Is it fair to, did you say very rarely you talk to
Phone.
Courtney Proctor by phone?
Usually it's text.
But do you stand by that testimony that you talk to Courtney Proctor very rarely by phone?
Do we have a time frame? Do you mean now or do you mean then?
Let me ask you this. Between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, did you only speak rarely with Courtney Proctor?
I don't recall.
Were you using Courtney Proctor as an intermediary to communicate with Michael Proctor about this case?
Objection.
I'll
Whoa,
allow it.
that was a good direct question.
No, I was not.
Are you aware that between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, you and Courtney Proctor spoke by phone 67 times?
Objection.
Were you aware of that?
No, I don't know the exact count.
Do you deny that you spoke 67 times?
I don't deny it, but I don't recall the exact amount of times.
Okay, so you don't deny that you spoke 67 times. You still want to maintain your testimony that you only talked very rarely with Courtney Proctor during that time period.
Excuse me.
I just don't remember the exact amount of times.
Well, you know that my client, Karen Reed, was arrested in connection with this case on February 1st of 2022, do you not?
I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor that date for 12 minutes by phone, correct?
I don't recall exactly. I don't remember exactly.
Tuger says, why does the time frame matter? Because for some facts,
May I approach?
if it happens after
before I approach,
the incident,
your memory's
then it's
exhausted
irrelevant.
as to
Other
whether
actions
you spoke
don't
to
matter if
Courtney
it
Proctor
happens
that day,
before
and
the
if so,
incident.
how long the two of you
So
spoke?
that for the certain
Yes.
matters, they need to decide when it happened, narrow down the time frame to see whether or not it's relevant.
I mean,
Sure.
I'm showing you a document with a number of,
Just show it to us.
right, no, I just wanted to point out which one that I'm pointing out. So the third, I was missing a number of lines. The third line down, if you would take a look at that specific date and time and see if that refreshes your memory about whether and how long you spoke to Courtney Proctor on February 1st, 2022.
Can you see that or do you need glasses?
No, I can see it.
I do have a pair of readers that I need as well if you need to borrow them.
Yes, if I could.
Of course.
Thank you.
Ah,
I
she
left
didn't
mine
wanna-
downstairs.
I just got these and it's like. the
Mr.
middle-
Yannetti, just bring them up,
Sorry.
please.
It took me a while to figure them out, but anyway.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's the
Judge
third-
wasn't
yeah, third
knowing.
line
Third
down.
line down.
Stop
Yes, I
bullshitting
see it.
and give her the
I
damn
don't-
glasses.
I don't recall. This
Okay.
was a long time ago. Thank you.
And you say that having seen this record, it does not refresh your memory? that you spoke to Courtney Proctor for?
Don't, it does not refresh your memory. That's where you have to.
Did Courtney Proctor tell you the day of my client's arrest on February 1st that she had been discussing the case with her brother that day?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you speak to Courtney Proctor that day in any fashion?
What day exactly?
The day of my client's arrest on February 1st of 2022.
That was on the sheet you just gave me?
It was.
Well, I did, obviously, if it was on that sheet.
Okay. And when you talked to her, did she tell you that she had discussed the case with her brother?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you notified that Karen was going to be arrested?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did you discuss?
I don't recall.
The next day, February 2nd of 2022, was the day that my client was arraigned back in Stoughton District Court. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor 3 times that day before my client's publicly televised arraignment at 9 a.m. Did you not?
Oh, you know, they were all
Again, I don't
calling
remember.
each other. You know, everybody
After
was
the
calling
arraignment,
each other and texting
You
each other.
spoke to her
Come
again
on.
for 27 minutes, beginning at 10:58 a.m. Did you not?
I don't recall.
Okay. So your testimony is, well, strike that. My client's arrest was pretty big news in Massachusetts, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were aware that my client had been arrested, correct?
Yes, I had seen it on the news.
You were aware that she was being arraigned the very next day, were you not?
Yes,
This case involved your family, did it not?
how do you mean it?
Well, you knew that John O'Keefe was found dead on your brother-in-law, Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I would say that
So
involves your
necessarily,
family.
Your family was involved in this case, correct?
Somewhat, yes.
And you knew that ultimately you'd probably be talked to by investigators from this case, correct?
I assume so, yes.
Right. Didn't happen for 13 days, but ultimately they did come, correct?
Yes,
So this case had to have been pretty big news within the Albert family, was it not?
well, yes, yes,
You were discussing it with your husband, correct?
yes,
You were discussing it with your other relatives, correct?
yes.
You were discussing it with your friends, correct?
I don't
Yes,
know about my
yes,
friends,
yes,
but
you were. Come on.
So is it your testimony that with all of this going on, you confined your discussions about this case just to your specific family members?
not necessarily.
No, I mean, clearly, you would have talked to Courtney Proctor about it, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. So,
Argumentative.
folks, why don't we end here? Right? You'll have to be back tomorrow for your classes.
Mm.
Jurors, the 3 cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any.
Not really happy the judge cut him off right there on that particular
If
line.
you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. I'll see counsel at sidebar or the jurors. Thank you very much.
Jurors is closing your notebooks and leaving.
All right, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. But I didn't. It was a weird place to end. I agree. I don't like the way she ended it there. It was very abrupt. But I think she was doing it to diffuse the battle that was ensuing between the defense lawyer and the witness. I mean, like an argument. It wasn't like diffusing the testimony. It was just both sides were getting. One side was getting evasive. The other side was getting grumpy. So, no, we had Ceiling Dion, Caligula Love. Ceiling Dion was present. We're present. We had a Ceiling Dion sighting. All right, let's see what she's telling the lawyers. or nothing. No, I that was me. I said, "Come on," didn't I? So, come on. Maybe the defense said it too. I didn't hear them. I just heard me say it. At least I think I said it. I don't remember. Hope nobody shows up dead on my lawn. Then I'll have to remember whether or not I said, "Come on." I think it was me. Come on. I said it there. What are we doing, Judge? The jury's gone. We can turn the mic. Come on. All right. I've said come on like 400 times. Well, shoot. Yeah, I didn't get a bingo yesterday or today. And I didn't even come close today. Every line needs 2. It was weird. I have these patches of 3 everywhere. So yeah, no bingo for me on the bingo card. Well, all right. This will be the final grift of the day, people. Please hit that subscribe button. Do me the favor. We're fun. Come on. I got a great chat. I got the best chat around, and I don't do so bad myself. We have fun over here. We cover these trials. We cover other issues. And by the way, for those of you that are following the Clayton Eckert, Laura Owens thing, apparently Laura Owens' lawyer, David Gingras, has deleted his website. That's interesting. So that is a very, very like breaking news kind of thing. So there we go. I said hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's see how our poll ended. We ended with 44 what if any's, and so 33% of you are correct. The largest percentage of you, 33% of you, said 26 to 50 what if any's. We'll wait to see how it turns out on Tuesday when we do our next count of what if any's. We'll do a review of Saturday and a review of Monday, and then we'll be live again with this on Tuesday. Next Monday, we will have our Maritime Monday stream. I have no idea what we'll talk about yet. I'll figure it out between now and then. And then Sunday is a 10-hour, well, I guess it's Saturday for some, Sunday for me, but from Saturday afternoon Eastern time for 10 hours will be Fiery Red Podcasts fundraiser. For those of you that missed it at the beginning, Fiery Red Podcast, who's been a huge supporter of the channel, he's been in chat since nearly the dawn of the channel, has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so on his channel, he'll be doing on the channel. So throw up the link where the fundraiser will be. Mods, please. I would appreciate that. 10-hour fundraiser for Fiery Red Podcast. Starting Saturday afternoon U.S. time. There's also a Give, Send, Go if that's the thing. If you want to go there and read it and see what's up and decide if you want to do it or not, the link will be there. And then Friday is our F It Friday. It's our 24 hours, I guess 20 hours from now ish. Is our F It Friday for May, where we sit around, we just have a great panel discussion and grift for shots. $100 gets a shot of premium whiskey out of me. We see how liquored up I get and how much fun you guys can have. We're celebrating a few things. On Friday, 20 hours from now, we're celebrating 75,000 subscribers. We are celebrating my 2-year anniversary on YouTube. That was my first live stream was May 6th. My first posting was May 2nd. So the Legal Vices 2-year birthday, the 75,000 subscribers, and my vacation at the end of the month. So load me up with stacks and stacks of cash to celebrate for all 3 of those things. Here are the people that will be here. This is a list of people that have said they're going to join the panel so far, and more will come, I'm pretty sure. For example, we haven't heard from Talk with Sally yet, who was in chat a minute.
See you tomorrow morning.
Well, that was an undramatic ending. while you guys watch Strawberry sleep there, here's the guest list so far. LawTube, Sean, aka Potentially Criminal, Law of Self-Defense, Andrew Branca, Danny on Direct, Hayden over Aussie Overlord, Waifu Kron Jess, now known as Moxie Dame Jess, who I just saw here in chat just a second ago. Where'd you go? There we are. Moxie Dame, formerly known as Waifu Kron Jess, will also be there. Ari Jacob, Ian Runkle from Runkle of the Bailey, Good Logic Joe, Nick Starro, Kaiser Pineapple, MG Law, Meme Copium, Paralegal Liz, and Mod Little D Danielle. The maybes, the might attend, are Megan Fox, Lady Law 5791, Anna, that Star Wars girl, and DUI guy and Chandler Remington will actually be attending the Karen Reed trial tomorrow. And they said that they might try to come out during a break and give us a live update. And others hopefully will either ask to be part of it or respond to texts, and we'll see who eventually shows up. But make sure you're here. And then for those of you that are keeping score at home for vacation, I will be in Las Vegas from May 25th through the 27th. Flux will be there. Jess will also be there. Hayden, he's still up in the air about whether or not he's going to be able to make it. Ari will come in. Ari's there. Ari's going to come and hang out with us for a while. We're trying to talk Anna, that Star Wars girl, into popping into town for the weekend. Tiffany Fong, if you don't know who Tiffany Fong is, check her out on Twitter. Absolutely hysterically hilarious. And whoever else happens to be in that area. And for those of you that are followers of Law Talk with Mike, I'm looking to meet up or at least have a conversation with Kim Blandino while I'm in Vegas. We're going to pay homage to the seat where O.J. Simpson used to sit. Ari was going to work hard to arrange an interview with O.J. while we were there, but the bastard couldn't wait 6 more weeks to die, so we can just go see the seat where he used to sit at his favorite sports bar. Right, that's a few things that are coming up there. And from May 28th through June 8th, I will be in Utah. I will do a couple of meetups in Utah. Most likely one in Salt Lake on June 5th, because my son and I will be attending a concert in Salt Lake. If you don't know the Bridge City Sinners, you need to listen to some Bridge City Sinners. Bridge City Sinners are my groove these days. And they're going to be in Salt Lake while I'm there, so we're going to go to the concert there. Most likely either the 4th or the 5th will be the meetup in Salt Lake. And we'll do one in Brigham City as well, like we did last year. So everybody feel free to join. I'll keep you posted. And you keep me posted on where you're all going to be. Can't really think of anything else to talk about here. We're going to wrap it up. I want to give a super special thanks to the mods for doing your moddy best as always. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me and helping me out and helping kind of run the show and dropping the links where they need to be dropped. And chat, thank you so much for your support, the super chats, the membership chats, the membership purchases, the gifted memberships, everything. And thank you for just being here. Just being here in chat is enough. Hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, talking to each other, having a good time. We will see you tomorrow for what will be the best time of the month. It'll be that time of the month. It'll be F Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Take care. Love you guys. You are the best. Bye. I forgot to say one thing. How's this for boomerang ending? I forgot to say one thing. Now I forgot what the one thing I forgot to say is. All right, fuck it. We're done. Bye. See ya. We're just going to end this now because I can't remember what I forgot to say.